And it's a new month. Hello and welcome to the AM show with me, Blessed Sogan. It is worth waking up for, and that's why we're here to bring you all of the updates and the stories, plus analysis on the best breakfast show that you can find on television. We're starting this morning off with the newspaper review. Guess what? My colleague with the political desk, Samuel Mbura, will be joining us very shortly to tell us what's happening in the dailies already. And we've got prime take on sports for you, because Muftau Nabila Abdullahi will be having a very special conversation with Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. He speaks about sports, about life, and more that you need to know about this very man that we're talking about. But then, over the last 24 hours, a lot of talk about the Ghana Police Service and some of the issues happening there. The Parliamentary Committee has been hearing matters relating to the alleged plot to remove the Inspector General of Police. We're having more insight into the circumstances surrounding that leaked tape, and TOP Alex Spencer has also been appearing before the committee. So what's the implication and all that we need to know about the service? We'll tell you about it in a few hours from now. Also on the show as well, we have Roverman Productions. We have our friends from there, Uncle Lebo Wine, who will be joining us on the AM show to talk about this new play that you need to know about. It's called Naked in Bed. You have to wait for that conversation just to find out more about that. And then we'll be giving you the opportunity as well to just phone in, give us your feedback, give us a call, share your thoughts with us as to the stories that we'll be bringing to you and the very exciting conversations that are set to come your way here on the AM show. But we start all of that with some stories for you in a very, very short while. So we take a break now. When we return, we'll give you some of these stories. Please stay. And you're welcome back. A new study by the Department of Geography Education at the University of Education, Winneba, has revealed the impact of mining on children's access to education within mining communities. The study, which focuses on the Ashanti, that's the Esutifi North District in the Ahafo region, unveiled alarming consequences of mining practices on the activity of children to access education. The report underscores the pressing need for a closer examination of the socio-economic implications of mining on affected communities.
Mining plays a crucial role in Ghana's socio-economic development, but irresponsible mining practices have had a more detrimental impacts than positive outcomes. In light of the new Mount Ghana's limited takeover of the Esutifi North District, Dr. Yawa Samoa from the University of Education, Winneba, conducted a study which revealed that the local school attended by the children in the area was demolished and relocated to Kenya's number 2. Consequently, children in neighboring communities now have had to endure long journeys to reach their school. He indicated that this situation significantly hampers the academic performance of students in these communities.
Was mainly about how children within the fence line communities within the district access formal education and the means by which they do access the formal education, and as to whether those means would affect their performance as pupils or performance as students. And it was so clear that they wouldn't have school just within their immediate environment. That means that pupils will have to travel on an average of, say, 7 kilometers to move from Damso, and that is a fence line community, to go to either Kenyase number 2, to either go to Dochikrom, which is also called Tutuka, and also Yaosukrom, to access education. Normally, they will have to miss the first morning class, which starts at 7:30, you understand? And the bus may go there even after 8. So they miss the early morning class, which is 7:30, miss assembly, and then sometimes miss the first lesson. And if continuously a child is missing these number of lectures or a number of classes, it definitely will not augur well with them when it comes to their performance. And so you realize that the performance will be deteriorating because of these irregularities when it comes to the bars coming to pick them. Of course,
he recommended that the individuals in these fence-line communities be relocated to another settlement.
About, I should say, over 90% were calling for that they want to be resettled. That is a clarion call that they want to be resettled, to join their kinsmen or their relatives, as most of them said in the interviews. So the school feeding program, I think, should be extended to especially the school at Kodio DA, which is at Kenyanse number 2. Scholarship opportunities for these kids would not be bad. Speaking
on the regulation of mining in forest reserves, Deputy Director of Arocha, Ghana, Darrell, is calling for the repeal of the new LI 2462.
But in recent times, the last 10 years, we've seen some pressure. All our forests come under siege for illegal mining activities. So now we want to ensure that all the laws and regulations coming in are rather going to support their protection. But we have been surprised that this LI actually has been passed, even though it is titled environmental protection, is rather environmental destruction, because it opens up almost all forest reserves now for mining, which is contrary to existing policy on reducing mining in our forest reserves. And this is one of the main reasons why we think that this forest is not going to support our Green Ghana agenda, our climate action, or the commitment we have at an international level, both for biodiversity conservation and also for our own sustainable livelihood. So we believe that repealing this LI will be a good step to really staying committed to sustainable forest management in this country.
The report is titled Mining Induced Placement's Impact on Children's Education. Esther Nkrumah's report read to you.
And the limited supply of vaccines in Africa at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic suggested new ways to enable the continent become self-sufficient in vaccine production. The International Vaccine Institute is proposing the establishment of an African Vaccines Alliance to realize this goal. There's more.
According to Dr. Kim, the IVI resolved that Africa should be independent in vaccine manufacturing.
So AVA is the African Vaccines Alliance, and it's not a new idea. But I think that one of the things that we saw during the COVID pandemic is that Africa should no longer be dependent on other countries, on the goodwill of others, for vaccine technology that will prevent death, save lives on the continent. The only way we can do that is to develop sustainable vaccine manufacturing in Africa. And that will be a rather difficult task because right now Africa manufactures less than 1% of its own vaccines. So there's clearly a great need. We think that one of the lessons from the pandemic was that we need to have it, and the question is, how do we do it? IVI believes that it isn't just manufacturing. Manufacturing by itself will make a shell, a factory, and it may or may not be making vaccines the next time a pandemic comes around. So what we really need to do is develop the end-to-end research and development infrastructure that will support sustainable vaccine manufacturing in the end. And this means it starts in a laboratory in Africa. It goes to the manufacture of those vaccines and the testing of those vaccines in subjects and in volunteers in Africa, proving the vaccine is safe and efficacious. That is, it works to prevent disease in Africa, and then working with the manufacturer to ensure that the vaccines will be approved by regulatory authorities, for instance, here in Ghana, and then by the WHO, which will allow the vaccine then to be used throughout the continent and actually throughout the world. So the goal here is to not only innovate for Africa, but to innovate within Africa for global health.
The delegation visited the KNUST IVI Collaborative Center at Asante Achimagogo, which was established through a partnership with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The team also paid a courtesy call at the Noguchi Memorial Institute, PATH, National Vaccine Institute, National Immunization Technical Advisory Group, Government Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Insiasare, KNUST Vice Chancellor, Professor Mrs. Weta Kusia Dixon, and management of Agogo Presbyterian Hospital. Managing Director of DEK Limited, Dr. Kofi Siapoku, also accompanied the team.
We will start with the liquid vaccines, so we are going to do malaria, we are going to do OCV, PCV, rotavirus, and also HPV. So there are about 6 vaccines we are going to start. And the next phase, we are going to do also the freeze-dried vaccines. So we'll move into MR, we'll move into BCG, yellow fever, and meningitis also.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
And the Central Regional Minister, Johnston Mary Gonasan, has underscored her commitment to stimulating economic activities and harnessing its economic potential, as well as prioritizing the development of agro-businesses. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the Central Regional Trade and Investment Expo 2023, she emphasized a multifaceted approach to bolster the local economy.
The Expo, which serves as a platform for trade and investment opportunities within the Central Region, has drawn attention to the region's determination to fuel economic growth and prosperity. These initiatives are geared toward transforming the local economy, fostering job creation, and improving the standard of living for its residents. The Central Regional Minister, Justina Marigodasan, underscored the region's recognition of the pivotal role the private sector plays in driving economic growth. She says by creating a conducive environment for investment, the region aims to leverage the expertise and resources of the private sector to achieve its development goals.
Our dream for this fair is to stimulate economic activities in different parts of the region and beyond, harness economic potentials, and to focus on the development of agro-business. We are also highly committed to the promotion of domestic tourism and, above all, attract private sector investments into the region to transform our local economy. This event is a homegrown initiative designed by the Council in line with our regional development strategy and transformation agenda to create visibility for the Central Region in areas of trade, tourism, and investment. This year's theme, Sustaining Business Opportunities, Nurturing Small-Scale Enterprises in Central Region, is a follow-up of the successes of Central Expo 2022 held last year, which gave opportunity to over 300 exhibitors from large, medium, and small-scale enterprises, especially the private sector, to get the exposure they needed to market their products and services.
President of the Central Regional House of Chiefs, Odefo Amoakobuedu, says the House of Chiefs stands ready to support investors with land to support investment and growth of the region.
It is the duty of chiefs to make lands available to investors, and Central Regional House of Chiefs is doing just that, trying to have land banks for investors. And so we do expect similar commitments from other stakeholders like the government in the provision of an enabling environment through the right policies, incentives, and infrastructure to attract investors and ensure that businesses thrive.
Deputy CEO of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Samuel Kofi Dentu, says industrialization is the main driving force to accelerated development and called for private sector support.
And now human activities are said to be a major factor accounting for the reason why so many animals are losing their natural habitat, and at the current rate of habitat loss and other activities such as poaching, species such as the African lions are projected to go completely extinct by 2050. However, in a bid to conserve nature, the Kapama Game Reserve in South Africa is dedicating over 16 hectares of land to protecting these endangered species. Well, I've been to this biodiversity spot, and here's what we found out.
Sunrise in the Limpopo province of South Africa. In this area near the town of Hoedspruit, Tikani and her group of conservationists are taking us on a tour to discover what is left of the wild.
We're taking an early morning drive in a 16,000 hectare space called the Kapama Game Reserve. It's a top biodiversity spot hosting the big 5 species that are about going extinct. We're about finding out why this area is so important to conservation and to saving our planet. A turn on the right brings an impala in sight. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, this medium-sized antelope, found in eastern and southern Africa, is on the red list of threatened species on the verge of going extinct. But Tikani and her eco-conscious team at the Kapama Game Reserve are fighting hard to conserve nature.
And we are Big 5 reserve, and mostly when we say Big 5, it's like it's not 100% guarantee that each and every game drive you're gonna see the Big 5, but we try by all means, guides and trackers, to show you what we have. We have different kind of animal, not only the Big 5. We have other general animal. You can find giraffes, you can find zebras, you can find other small animals. We have animals as little as the little 5, from the Big 5 to the little 5, and all different birds life.
The big 5 species reserved here include this lioness, which has given birth to 2 cubs, a sign of hope for the future. But Tikani tells us that a major factor which could undermine their efforts at protecting these species include poaching.
To us, it's more important, and to all the tourists that come here, because we're still trying to save nature, and even our kids, the next generation, will still find this place still standing as long as we're doing our part in taking care of it. So if we keep doing what we're doing, especially when it comes to rhino, if the poaching still exists, there might be a time, let's say 10 years to 20 years from now, that we'll see less of rhinos. But if we do our part and report poaching and things like that, the next generation will be able to know what is a rhino.
How bad?
There's also the challenge of climate change, which is adversely impacting wildlife.
Climate does change animal behavior. We see that at a certain time of the month, we used to find animals more in a certain area than in a certain area. Actually, now we are in our dry season. You will see other animals in certain area of the reserve, and then other animals in certain area of the reserve, depending what they eat.
In spite of adversity, management of the Kapama Game Reserve is making a solemn pledge to save the planet and to protect biodiversity. This is Sugan's report for Joy News, Limpopo, South Africa.
And now the Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien, is worried about the increasing cases of opioid addiction among some health workers in the country. He's asking these health workers to desist from the practice. The doctor made the disclosure at the 14th Annual General Conference of Pharmacy Technicians Association of Ghana. Rafiq Salam reports.
The 14th Annual General Conference of the Pharmacy Technician Association of Ghana, patient-centered pharmaceutical care, a tool for sustainable pharmacy practice. The 4-day conference brought together members of the association from all 16 regions in the country. Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Puiri, expressed worry over the increasing cases of opium addiction among the youth, with particular emphasis on health workers. Though he has not given out statistics to back his claim, he disclosed that some have lost their lives, whilst others are what he described as walking vegetables, spending all their earning on petagen, tramol, and others.
Of late, there has been an increasing prevalence of opioid addiction among the youth, particularly among health workers. Some have lost their lives through this addiction, while others have largely remained walking vegetables, spend all their earnings trying to buy petagen and tramadol and many others. Some of our actions and inactions may be contributing to this development. When we facilitate access to these otherwise restricted medications, we are promoting their use among the general public. As such, there is a need for you to do your part in helping limit access to unauthorized use of these harmful drugs. You could also embark on public sensitization to create awareness of the negative effects of unauthorized use of such medications.
National President of the Pharmacy Technician Association of Ghana, Pharmtech Richard Oposo Adai, lauded the Pharmacy Council for giving approval for over 11 schools nationwide to gain accreditation to run HND dispensing technology programs. Though he agreed it will give opportunity to many to join the profession and to serve there are some doubts about the efficacy of the monitoring of the institutions.
The big question is, how effective is the monitoring of these academic institutions in ensuring that the graduates who pass out are of the required education and skill? We have observed over the years that some schools are not admitting students with the required grades and also not following the required educational curriculum. And this has led to some graduates passing out with shallow knowledge in their field of study. We believe that we don't want our knowledge and skill to be that shallow. And so therefore, we call on all stakeholders to come to a roundtable discussion to find a lasting solution to this situation.
Let's take you up north now, because the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Saani, has opined that Northern Region Social Cohesion Project has the potential of changing the economy, speaking at the handing over ceremony of some motorbikes and office equipment to 6 municipal and district assemblies in the region. He stated that the project will better the lives of the people and asked officials at the helm of affairs to work to ensure the success of the project.
The goal for Guinea Northern Region Social Cohesion Project, SOCO, is a $150 million 5-year funded International Bank for Construction and Development of the World Bank Group project. The project implementation is being led by the Minister of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, with 48 metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies located in 6 regions in the northern Gulf of the country and the OT region. The project is expected to deliver resilient community infrastructure and assets through a common-driven development project, CDD. The objective is to improve regional collaboration in socio-economic and climate resilience of border zone communities in the targeted northern regions of the Gulf of Guinea countries exposed to conflict and climate risks. Our Power Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Saani, at a ceremony to hand over 16 motorbikes and office equipment to 6 municipal and district assemblies in the region for monitoring and supervision of the project, opined that the SOCO project has the potential of changing the economy of the region. He urged the people at the helm of affairs to work diligently to ensure that the right thing is done.
The SOCO project has the potential of changing the economy of the Upper West region. Let's all of us be minded. It should not be business as usual. Some infrastructural facilities shall be constructed. We shall ensure that we get value for money.
And the Director General of the Geological Service Authority has raised concerns over the poor funding to the authority, which he says is impeding the work of the organization. Citing the Seismic Observatory in Accra, he says that though it is an important asset which helps with seismic information, budgetary allocation has not been forthcoming. Martha Bugri now reports.
Geological Survey Authority's media engagement in Tamale was to help the journalists understand the scope of the authority's work and how to help educate the masses on their activities. Mr. Wimbele also raised concerns over the way and manner structures are springing up on seismic investigation when constructing structures.
Geology, I think this is an area that, as a country, we have not been forth upright. We are engaged in all kinds of construction that might not be sustainable. Because if you look at the current trend of these earth tremors that are occurring, it's increasing. And we need to do these studies to be able to tell, or for you to be advised as to what structure to put up in some parts of the area that you want to develop. Else you may develop it. And in case of a trauma, your structure may not be able to withstand the ground vibration that will be imposed on it.
He said the authority will continue to advise Ghanaians on issues of seismic events.
We also will continue to monitor the seismicity of the country and advise the people of Ghana as and when necessary and what to do in case there are seismic events or in case there are earthquake issues. And this is meant to mitigate the impact of such activities should they occur. At least people should be aware of what to do when such events do occur.
Mr. Wimbele said they will continue to seek support to study to discover new minerals for the country.
We say that the authority continues to employ for additional minerals so that we can diversify the mineral base of the country and instead of the traditional gold, diamond and bauxite that we know. And currently what we are looking at is looking at additional minerals like the iron ore, the limestone, the clay. We want to look at copper, lead, cobalt, lithium, and columbite and talant. So these are the new minerals that we want to discover for sustainable mining in the country and for national development.
Country Director of the International Justice Mission, Anita Budu, has bemoaned the absence of shelters to accommodate children who have been rescued from some child trafficking incidents. She's been speaking with Joy News at a fellowship program. There's more in this report.
What I would say to that is that the Department of Social Welfare, it is their role to provide support to any child who has been seen to be in need of care and protection. And so when that happens and a child needs to be protected, a shelter or a protective shelter is somewhere where a child is placed for the period of their rehabilitation while their family is being located, and for them to be assessed and returned to them where it is safe. And so that a shelter is one of the places where a child can be put while those processes are going on. We also have mechanisms such as foster care placement, fit person placement. So my belief is that we need to be looking at all this range of support services through social services for our young children who are vulnerable and deemed to be in need of care protection to be well supported along the whole journey. And so my plea really is that social services are supported and the resources needed are put in place for them to be able to have this full spectrum of placements available to support those really in need.
Some of the stories for this morning, but guess what? We're looking at the newspapers next. Please stay on the AM show. Welcome back. It's time now to look at the newspapers and some of the headlines for you. We start off with the Daily Guide newspaper this morning, and it has the big story of the embattled or former Water and Sanitation Minister, Cecilia Abuna-Dapaah, and it says, return Cecilia Dapaah's cash, court orders Office of the Special Prosecutor. Details of that story on page 3 of the Daily Guide newspaper. And my voice is on the tape. It's also captured here, talking about COP George Alex Mensah, who's flanked by some superintendents of the Ghana Police Service, as the Speaker's Committee continues the hearing on the alleged matters relating to the leaked tape. And this is the Daily Guide newspaper talking about that very sitting, which we saw yesterday, very charged atmosphere there when, of course, COP Alex Mensah appeared before the committee. Still on the Daily Guide newspaper, it talks about the November 4 race of the governing New Patriotic Party. There's a story about a runoff on Adainimo, but it appears that that runoff is no longer happening. So the Daily Guide is simply reaffirming the fact that Adainimo is joining the November 4 race without a tiebreaker election, which was scheduled for this weekend because the other contender, the Honorable Wachejako, is pulling out of the race, citing some legal issues and the decision of the council to reform the rules ahead of that contest. So now we have a full set of 5. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Kennedy Ejapong, and the former Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Kojo-Kyerematen, will be in the race. Former Greek Minister, Dr. Kutu Efrie, is also in the race, as well as Adainimo, who is now sailing through to be making up that complete 5 that will contest come November 4. Still on the Daily Guide newspaper, let's strengthen ties to combat terrorism. The Daily Guide appears to have some stories on violent extremism, which is confronting the nation, and some dialogue which has been taking place throughout the week regarding Ghana's security and making sure that things are on track. So it's not just the Daily Guide newspaper that's talking about that big story about Cecilia Abena-Dapaah. There's also the Finder newspaper, because the Finder newspaper captures this way: return Dapaah's monies in 7 days. That's the additional information that we also need to tell you about, because the Finder has captured that for us, talking about the court ordering the Office of the Special Prosecutor to return the monies of Cecilia Abena-Dapaah, some unspecified amounts of money that the OSP retrieved as part of investigations into the 1 million cash saga. And the Finder newspaper is also talking about that. So the Finder newspaper talks about the fact that the OSP disagrees with the findings of the court as well, says that he will be fighting that decision of the court. So the Finder newspaper is also talking about the cylinder recirculation model. That model is starting today, and we will see how that policy will go, because obviously it means that technically you would not be using the same cylinder that you procured yourself, except to say that all that's going to happen now is that you would find it in circulation, and probably would see how that model will run. But it comes to the picture of the NPA boss, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, who is on the front page of the Finder newspaper. Leaked tape on IGP edited, that's according to COP Alex Mensah. Also, it's captured here on the Finder newspaper. And Access Bank Ghana and Deloitte's partner to strengthen SMEs. The Daily Statesman, coups offer false hope. That's according to the legal luminary Kofi Abochi, who has some take on the recent developments on the African continent, the latest being Gabon. Many are scared that there may be an influx into other African countries, and particularly that the West African countries are troubled now. There's a feeling that relatively stable democracies may be affected out of the exercise. A committee tasked over Article 71 office holders, emolument, comes to the picture of the president asking the committee to also be mindful of the times in which we find ourselves. But when you have the labor law, which says you cannot vary down, let's see how that will go. Otumfuo reposes confidence in the Chief Justice, and the domestic debt exchange, over 90% participation recorded, comes to the picture of the finance minister. The Daily Graphic, ex gratia demands debate. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. So there you find President Akufo-Addo, exchanging pleasantries with members of the committee, including Professor Isaac Osayakuto of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at the University of Ghana. Leak tape doctored, COP Alex Mensah alleges, or is arguing, and then court orders OSP to return Cecilia DePass assets. These are some of the stories we have making the rounds this morning on the various newspapers that we have for you. Dr. Michael Adongo is an economist joining our conversation this morning. Doc, such a pleasure to be speaking to you. It's been a while, actually.
Hey, yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, good to be connecting with you. Let's start off with Article 71 office holders. They are preparing already, to have some recommendations made on their emoluments. When this comes up, it's a big debate very often. The president is saying, well, he's welcoming that debate. The committee obviously will be commencing their work. But looking at the times in which we find ourselves, that conversation has come up again. Do we sustain it, scrap it, reform it, or try and, amend the laws around it? What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's very unsettling if you are president of the country at this time and this issue is coming. Because if you follow the historical trend, anytime this issue of Article 71 workers come out, their emoluments, and they make the decision, it triggers some industrial actions. And then you have people who had settled for lower conditions of service have decided to see reason with government in terms of the challenges we are in and taking some cuts here and there. And then Article 71 comes and is almost immoral, largely unacceptable that the same government that trumpeted hard times, difficulties with the economy and so forth, cannot bring the same argument to bear on its agencies and its actors. So, yes, the president ought not to be looking forward to a debate. He has to know that what happens in this country going forward, the peace and tranquility in the labor front is going to depend on how he's able to prevail on Article 71 workers to take the times into consideration.
Do you? I don't know, but do you ever see this happening, that the committee will just recommend probably the same rate of ex gratia for Article 71 office holders, or possibly maybe just lowering it down? Some say there's a legal impediment there. You cannot bring down, the salaries from the next base. So it's always going to go up, by the way.
Yes, definitely. That is the legal law. You cannot make somebody worse off in terms of his emoluments. I think what the option that remains for the president or any other actor is to prevail on these office holders using backdoor channels to try to tell them that these are difficult times and we want you to lead by setting an example, and then telling Ghanaians that we cannot do business as usual and then take some cuts. But I don't see that happening because if you look at the two realities that are currently prevailing in the country, and while some are struggling to keep their monies in the bank to get just a penny or two here to spend, others have it stuck under their beds. So how are you going to convince others in the Article 71 category that are currently not in government that yes, it is still in the interest of Ghana to go in for a cut? So the gesturing and the posturing of the president doesn't.
I see. And here's the thing. Fortunate to be having you because you are a development economist. So you kind of appreciate the toll, the impact of ex gratia on developing economies such as Ghana. Really, and let's have a dispassionate argument. Are we saying that we can't pay these MPs, we can't pay these politicians?
Yes, as you rightly mentioned, one, the key principles in development economies is normally to look at three things: what is happening to poverty, what is happening to inequality. Those are key things. And if you look at the ex gratia issue now, it is a it underpins the level of inequality in Ghana, where a huge proportion of the labor force is paid peanuts, and those in government are actually rewarded with bounty emoluments and allowances here and there. And there is no way to say that this does not underscore the disproportionate arrangements within our incentive structure in the country. Therefore, yes, from the angle of development economics, I say yes, it underscores our inequality. But it also tends to bring to bear what you normally would say is the wage burden on government. That a government that spends a significant chunk of resources paying emoluments also have to deal with a huge proportion of it coming from politicians who have campaigned to serve the people. And you realize that what they take home, to me, it's not moral. It's not an issue of you are in office, you control. Sometimes government has to, it's blackmail, if I may put it that way, that when it comes to negotiations, parliamentarians grandstand with government, and in order for government to get these programs going, it has to agree. So most of the time, it's difficult. Even so, now that the differences in parliament is that razor thin, you cannot expect that government will go and say, okay, I want to look good in the eyes of Ghanaians, so take a cut. So either way you look at it, whether it's from the development economic perspective, from the moral perspective, or even from the ability of the government to engage, it's not going to happen. And one of the challenges we have now is that when we have a very a hang parliament, let me put it that way, and you needed to have some consensus building, some bridgemanship going on. You have leaders in majority in parliament being cavalier and always trying to go on a showdown, if I'm allowed to use that word, with the minority side. So you don't have
and this will indeed be and this indeed will be a great test for these NDC MPs. The flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, indicating that, well, he's not going to work with that plan. Looking at the arrangements, where the committee's work might end, we will definitely at some point require parliamentary approval for the executive. But you know, looking at the arrangements, actually, it's a, you know, hand-go-hand come situation, if we can use that cliche. The president will sort out parliament. The parliament would also be expected to just sort out the president. So that's where the challenge is going to be.
Yeah, I think that one of the few instances in this country where we have consensus in parliament is when it comes to this ex-gratia thing, and I expect history to repeat itself. It's going to be a show of democracy, a show of national interest, a show of cordiality and collegiality when it comes to this issue. President Mahama, yes, made some very interesting proposals, but as it stands now, the law is the law, and to implement that, you need a lot of goodwill and willingness of the MPs and other actors to come on board. Unfortunately, President Akufo-Addo is not that kind of person. I think that he hasn't got that chemistry with his own members of parliament, let alone the minority. And then, hey, look at it. You have a government that has been practicing more or less, I say it's one of the most nepotistic friends and family governments we have had in the history of this country. So what is left for the minority MPs is what they can get through this thing, because the sharing of the cake has been left to those walking on the corridors of power and those who have connections. And the NDC MPs have constituents to go back to. If the government was an all-inclusive type, that whether you are in it or not, you have access to some resources and some opportunities to serve your constituents. Yes, you can expect the NDC MPs to play game and come on board. Okay. But here is the case, what they largely get now is their salary plus what they can get from this government by force. I don't expect them to budge when it comes to this, and I won't blame them if they do so.
Okay, the Daily Guide talking about the return of Cecilia Dapa's cash That's the order from the court to do that within 7 days. The OSP is promising a fight back. He doesn't seem to be conceding, after all. And after the findings were that the retrieval or the seizure of assets were driven by emotions.
I don't want to go the way I normally go privately when I'm dealing with this issue, but I'm not a fan of the special prosecutor, because I think that he has only been successful in going after the small players and those who don't matter. And on issues like this, he tends to play the role of a cleaner rather than a prosecutor. I call in my friendly circles, I call him Mr. Kaplan. In the blacklist, when Mr. Reddington commits all his this, Mrs. Kaplan that helps him clean the scene. And if you look at the DOJ issue following up after the procurement saga thing, which your network profoundly articulated and distributed, and this same person being able to go and file an ex parte injunction in court and wipe his accounts clean, it was disturbing. This thing is following a similar trend where you have the cash being returned on a flimsy technicality. I think it's the office of the special prosecutor we are talking about here. And it ought to have been aware of all the legal nuances as far as requesting custody of this cash is concerned. To have this case being dismissed on the grounds of technicality and given all the legal resources available to the office of the special prosecutor and his experience, I tend to think that this wasn't an oversight. Yes, I have to be careful what I'm saying, but I really am very disappointed in that issue. That one of the biggest sticking point, something that embarrasses this nation across the globe. You have even bigger embarrassment in the sense that the office of the special prosecutor misfiled the case on an issue of timing.
All right.
I'm particularly worried. I think that what the office of the special prosecutor is saying now and doing is just trying to save some face. I don't believe that the court is lying that he didn't file the things on time. We are in here. I hope to be wrong. I pray I am wrong.
3 newspapers talking about the same committee appearance regarding the alleged plot to take out the IGP. I mean, get him out of office. COP announcements are appearing before the committee indicating that, yes, that's his voice on the tape, except to say that he was having a private conversation with Bugri Nabu. So many shocking revelations there. The fact that from his rank, COP, it's obvious that you'd have to lobby for the job or the position of an IGP. Based on some of these revelations coming through, that suggests that we need some reforms in the police service.
Yes, definitely. It's not only in the police service, but it has to do with even our management of institutions in the country, that the presidency is extremely powerful, and this power is now being leveraged and used to influence our very democracy. It's something that is disturbing. If you were an actor and someone who is in public space interested in our democracy, and you have the police in backstage discussion planning to have a system that circumvents these processes, people's engagement in their democratic duties, and thinking that the current Chief Justice and the current Commissioner of Police is not strong enough or forthright enough in working in favor of the government, you should be worried. Those in the media, those in public service, and also politicians have to be worried. I think that it's not just an issue of Bugri Nabu and these 3, but we ought to go down to these institutions and begin to ensure that we have systems that can engender confidence in our political landscape. Otherwise, we are headed for very, very difficult times. Now that this knowledge is on the background, the police is always going to be under scrutiny. Of course, we have realized over time that the police service has been acting as the private security of the executive branch, and this discussion just underscores it. I am not going to go into the intricacies of whether Bulin Abu was recording it for evidence or whether the policemen said what they didn't say. If you look at the elements and snipers of the sound, you realize that there was some clandestine intentions involved, however difficult it is to prove them. And it tells us that we cannot rely on our police service to provide objective service to the people of this country. That is the period going forward.
The daily
I will be thinking that bodies like the Peace Council, the National House of Peace and other things must intervene so that we put in temporary measures that will allow people to have some trust in the police. Otherwise, we are going to see some resistance to police protocols and maneuvers, given the fact that the hierarchy of the police appears to think that occupying the office of the IGP is an opportunity to serve government, or is a responsibility and a call to work for the ruling party. It's not about serving Ghanaians. That thinking alone is very unsettling, and I would want Ghanaians to be more concerned about this. Especially, we are having movements now trying to pick it at the Bank of Ghana and so on and so forth, and the police is going to court to injunct the processes. It's very difficult to convince people that this is out of security and out for national interest, and not trying to be on the good books of government. So yes, going forward, the police has some serious work to do, and also our institutions.
Kofi Abuchi is talking about the coups that we have spreading across the African continent. The Daily Statesman is capturing that on the front page. Coups offer false hope. We all know that, except to say that it's suggesting that the threats are coming closer and closer to relatively stable democracies such as Ghana.
Yes, if you were a democratically elected president in West Africa, or for that matter, any part of Africa now, you'll be sleeping with one eye open. And yes, I like it. Just that I don't like the coups, but I like the president being scared, because they were becoming worse than military regimes, and being very autocratic, not listening, and high-handed. So these coups are a response to our various democracies acting like military men in private clothes. That has been the case here. And many of our actors, especially our governments, have largely failed to deliver the process of democracy. So these coups, yes, I think that they kind of disrupt the situation, but they should cause us to think and settle down and look for a path to restore our continents to a democracy. I can tell you for sure that you don't expect soldiers to be benevolent for a very long time. And I agree with Kofi that this is not going to end well. Very soon we'll be on the streets if we are able to demonstrating for an end to the atrocities and injustices that military regimes are going to visit on us. So yes, on that score, I agree with Kofi Abuchi that we cannot rely on them if we, ECOWAS and the other regional bodies, do not adopt a middle ground where they drop this mantra of intervening militarily and working with these soldiers to know that, okay, you have just a limited time to restore constitutional order. Otherwise, when the whole of West Africa is taken over by soldiers, we are going to have.
And I was just having this conversation. Yes, I was just having this conversation the other time, talking about how we have a unique trend in all of these military takeovers. You find the citizenry jubilating and coming out on the streets to celebrate the military each time there's a takeover. That's unheard of, actually.
Yes, I think just a couple of weeks ago, I participated in a West African conference on Niger. And the consensus was that it follows hopelessness after the independence wave that swept across the country, and people were expecting that we would have both political freedom and economic freedom, access to manage our economies the way we deem fit. But we have realized that, and I even think that Kwame Nkrumah realized that when he made a statement that seek ye first political kingdom and everything will be added to it. We have gotten the political freedom, but everything has not been added, and it has always been getting worse. You realize that the West too has largely supported and bolstered governments that work for their interests rather than for their citizenry. So across the West African countries, when you have Democrats changing the constitution and running for third terms, they did nothing. When you had governments that were extremely corrupt and mismanaging the nation's resource, the West did nothing. And the hopelessness that grew out of these democratic arrangements has increased pressure. I frequent Niger a lot. I'm a visiting scholar to Abdul Mumini University. So I go there 2-3 times a year and I teach. I have students there currently I'm supervising. And when you walk on the streets of Niger, you realize that this was just a matter of time. The West was highly unwelcome there. The soldiers were unwelcome there. And when you see the general population perceiving the military there as some people who were there killing their brothers and sisters, the anger was up there. Inequality in Niger is unbelievable. You just cannot believe. The city of Niamey was just booming with business, high-end hotels and business centers that you can put anywhere in the world and it will fail. Yet when you just go a few kilometers outside the capital, you have abject poverty. I mean, can you imagine that we traveled about 20-30 kilometers under heavy military guard just to go and commission a few solar panels so that people could gather in the community and charge phones?
Really?
It's called a cuckoo.
Wow.
Yes, just we went to, in the presence of the Speaker of Parliament. He had come to that program, and we had to go and commission solar panels. And no need, we came along with a whole contingent partners from Germany and Europe and so on. And I was like, a country that powers France is celebrating over a few solar panels. That is problematic and that is serious. So while somebody was in Niger taking all the electricity away, just a stone throw away, you don't have people having access to electricity, and that is extremely worrying. If you get to Niger and you see the way the country is, you're going to say that it was expected. It's normal that people are supporting the coup.
Yeah. I see, Doc.
Yeah.
Very touching. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. I can imagine you having that first-hand experience of what's happening in Niger. We're not by any means endorsing military takeover. I guess this is just a wake-up call to our leaders. To our leaders, definitely. Thank you, Doc. I'm sure that we'll meet again. Nice having you this morning.
Yeah, it's a pleasure talking to you. I haven't seen you for a very long time. I'll get to Accra one of these days, and then after a long day, maybe we'll get to hang out.
Yeah, all right. Dr.
Yes,
Adongo joining us, development economist, sharing his thoughts with us on the newspapers this morning on the AM show. Next is Prime Take. We're speaking to Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. He speaks about football and others in terms of his passion. Muftar Nabila will be doing that conversation shortly. Please stay.
You're doing good.
Well, I'm taking good care of myself.
I'm not surprised.
I'm taking good care of myself. When I tell people my age, they don't believe it, you know.
So what is the age?
81.
81?
Yeah.
You look like someone who is 60.
I passed 60 long ago.
So I've taken 81 out of your age.
Exactly.
Wow. You look really, really good. You look really good.
We have also in the family this genes of longevity, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, because my dad died just about 3 years ago at the age of 104 years, 8 months. My grandfather was equally old, over 98, if not 100. And then it's only my great-grandfather whose life was terminated through poisoning. But his father, Togbunya Otamaklu the first, lived for 118 years.
Wow.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And,
see. My grandfather lived to 122.
There you are. There you are.
Doc, tell us, how did your childhood story begin?
Well, that's quite interesting. You know, I was born at the old Kolebu, as I was told by my mother and my father. In those days, Kolebu was, I think, the biggest hospital in the country, you know, and there were quite a number of white doctors. And normally, in our tradition, after a week, you are given a name.
Okay.
But I think the doctors dictated that I was not that well to be released, but my mother was okay. So the outdooring itself took place at Kolebu. The island, they had gardens there.
Oh,
for
wow.
those. Yeah, when it was described to me, my parents, I was really impressed. They had a nice garden, you know, but they know our tradition. The white knows our tradition, and within a week, the child must be given a name. Now, prior to that, my dad and one of my late uncles, you know, no, my grandfather and one of my late granduncles went to find out where do I really come from. They do it, you know, and they were told I'm just what do you call it?
A reincarnation or something?
That's right. The reincarnation of Togbunya Otamaklu the first. That is why I have his name. So his name is Nyahu Tamaklu. Togbunya Tamaklu. And so I was given his name Nyahu.
Oh, okay.
Now, his tool is Nyahu Tamaklu's tool. So I added Nyahu Tamaklu's tool to my name because I write his name. So I'm not surprised. I have grown to look like him. I get shocked.
When I was coming in and I saw the picture, I was like, this is you, only for me to be told that.
That is my grandfather's grandfather. Is a picture you saw, the old man. It's right here. You can show it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's amazing. You are not the only one. Almost every journalist who comes here comments on that.
In fact, when I was going to do the introduction, I almost said a traditional ruler. The first. I belongs to me.
He was a traditional ruler, and he was involved in a lot of businesses. He had business and properties all along the eastern coast line, all the way to Benin.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, he even he had properties in Nigeria. But there's a street in Lagos called Tamaklu Street.
Oh really?
Oh yes, and he had a mine in Chile. So you can imagine.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow, he's a great man. Yeah. No wonder you are equally a great man.
Oh, I don't come in the fraction of what they do. And he was a warrior.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that picture, the young picture you see, that is him, the warrior. If your camera can catch it, he was a warrior. And I have always been struggling to get some of his ancient items like artifacts and other things. And when I got there, I was very much satisfied. Well, he was in his full regalia.
Yes.
And imagine where I got the picture from. It wasn't from Ghana. Nowhere in our archives could I found it. This picture came from Dresden in Germany. German archives. They had the picture of this man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So you can see that we really don't take certain things very serious as Africans, and that's unfortunate, you know.
But tell us, why did your people have to go and find out your generation?
Oh, it's done in a lot of families.
Oh, okay.
It's done by a lot. They want to find out your background, where you really come from. But that's the belief. And exactly what they said is what has happened today.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Wow. What about your childhood education? How was it like? Education.
Myself?
Yes.
Oh, in fact, I was born and bred in Accra. I was born in Accra, bred in Accra, schooled in Accra. I started school at the I started school at the Presbyterian Primary School at Adabraka. It's still there now, on the Kwame Nkrumah Avenue. In those days, it used to be called High Street.
High Street.
No, not High Street. It used to be called Station Road.
Oh, okay.
We had two streets running through Adabraka, Station Road and Boundary Road. Boundary Road is now what you call Kojo Thompson Road.
Oh, okay.
Now, Station Road has become Kwame Nkrumah Avenue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was there that we as kids, at about the age of 7 or so, I remember vividly, when Nkrumah, I think, was released from prison or whatever it was, I don't know. Then, in those days, you know, he was so, you know, popular, and they brought him from the prison, they brought him straight to the house of one of his close allies, K. Badema.
Okay.
Badema lived right opposite our school, and adjacent to our school was one Brimer, who was also Nkrumah's man, who was a minister in Nkrumah's government, one of the early ministers, you know. So that's where I had my basic training. Then from there I moved to also Presbyterian Middle Boys Boarding School.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I was there. Then from there, secondary school, I went to Zion College in Keta. And then
I finally went to your place.
Yeah, I went to my place, but unfortunately, they were so strict that in those days you are not even allowed rather to speak the local language in the school. I don't know why.
Wow.
It was not only that school, there were a lot of schools, but I don't know, maybe they wanted to make sure you grasp the English language very well. And then after that, I had my university education at Charles University in Prague, present Czech Republic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I came back after graduation and having done my housewife and everything, and I wanted to join the army. And
so the initial thing you wanted to do was to join the army?
I was joining the army after finishing medicine.
Oh, okay. So you finished medicine in Czech Republic? Okay.
After I finished medicine, I decided, look, I think one of the reasons was that my late uncle, Dr. Kwame Nyaho Tamaklo, who established Nyaho Clinic.
Clinic.
Oh yes, oh yeah, that was his work. And now, when I was in medical school, he had already established a clinic.
Oh, and by a long time.
Yeah, it was quite an okay. I came to work there with him, you know.
In fact, initially I thought it was yours.
No, not the whole time. I would say he did wonderfully well, and he had a strength. Well, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. Unfortunately, he was behind his desk working when he collapsed and died.
Oh.
all because of the work, the strength they put into it. Now, it was mainly because of him, because by then, before he set up the clinic, he was the head of the military hospital. He was also a soldier.
Oh, okay. Military hospital in 37?
Oh, yes. Now, if you go there now, you see Tamako Ward.
Oh, yes.
That was named after him.
I see.
You follow me? Now, when he retired from the military, I think in 67 or 68, I can't remember very well now. Then he went into private practice and wanted this sort of modern clinic, which also we call joint sort of practice.
Yes.
So when even though at that time the clinic was an outpatient clinic, we had specialists coming down there.
Oh, okay.
Most of the specialists, if I can remember, the Professor Kwakumpo, Professor Taki of surgery, Colonel Jabano. These are all people I've worked with before. And I can't name them. Professor Drew, each one in his field. Professor Quarty, urology, and you know, they all visited the place. So it became a very popular place within a short period.
I see.
Yeah, so that was that.
So what happened to the military dream?
Well, the military dream, I was asked to attend an interview. I was then in Europe. You know, Czech Republic is in Europe. So I was asked to report at the Ghana High Commission.
Okay. You wanted to join the military service in Czech?
No. I wanted to join the Ghana military service.
Yes.
So I wrote to the Ghana military and I was asked to come for an interview.
Oh, okay.
In London. Now, I wasn't the only one. Quite a number of doctors came, about 15 of us. And nurses, you know, nurses, female nurses, and dentists also.
Okay.
And I remember vividly that at that particular interview, which in the military they call face a selection board. That's how they call it in the military. There were 3 military officers in their uniform who were white people. 1 lady and 2 gentlemen. One was a full colonel, the other one was a lieutenant colonel.
Oh, okay.
And then 2 Ghanaians. The Ghanaians were, by then, his rank was Lieutenant Colonel Arnold Quinu, who later became General Quinu and was the 4th commander of this country. He's still around. And I haven't seen him for a while. I have to look up for him.
After this, you have to call him.
Exactly. And the other person was a major called Major Francis Ajemfra, who passed on recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, of some point. And they were wonderful. Now, Ajemfra also later became a Major General in the Ghana Armed Forces. So it was at that particular interview, after they have talked to me, they asked me to wait. And I did. They didn't tell me anything, so I was waiting. You have to respect others right from the word go.
Yes.
And then I noticed that another doctor has joined me. Now, it turned out to be a gentleman by name Kobana. Kobana was a dentist.
Okay.
Yeah. So who were the 2 who were picked out of the lot that came there?
Okay.
Yeah. So they asked us to go to Harley Street for medicals, and we went down there. And after that, they asked to come down to Accra. I came to Accra and went to military academy. And all all the medicines and what you think you know, it will disappear within a second. Because the training, oh my God. But I enjoyed it. You see yourself being transformed from civilian life to military life. You feel it.
How is it like?
I now understand why they always want younger people. You follow me? Yeah, because it's quite stressful and strenuous.
Very rigorous.
Very rigorous. And, you know, all sort of things that you do, you know, going through swamps and whatnot, you know, climbing off ropes to heights that you can never think of, jumping walls and all sort of things, being left in the bush. We were left, I remember, I was then made a platoon commander. We were left down the Aburi Hill somewhere there, and we had to find our way all the way to Akropong with only a compass in the forest. Oh yes, but we were able to make it.
That's an interesting one. Yeah. So how many years did you serve in the military?
My stay in the military was very brief. It couldn't be more than 3 years, and it was very eventful.
In the space of 3 years?
Oh yes.
But this was an area you were interested in. So why would they just get into?
Oh well, I got into the military. By then this country was so political, highly political. Abuja had been thrown out. What they call General Chambon was in charge, and it was the military, you know. But some of us had a different sort of approach to certain things. I asked myself, the role of the military really is not to rule civilians. That's not the role. But I read a book by one General Alexander, you know, he was an officer, and he has sort of specified clearly the role of the soldier. Okay. Now, interestingly, myself, when I left military academy, I served briefly at 37 Military Hospital. Then I was put on a recruitment team. Very interesting. I want you to get this portion because it came out of a lot of things. A recruitment team to tour the whole country and then look for soldiers. I'm talking about soldiers, not officers, potential, not officers, soldiers. You follow me? We visited all the regional capitals in Ghana. We ended up at Boku. By then, Boku was not Boku. We ended up at Bolga. Yeah. But it wasn't even a regional capital then. It wasn't. If my memories could serve me right. So they did this in order to balance regional representation. Okay. Very, very interesting thing. Yes. Not what is happening now. In order to balance regional, so we started from Ho to Cape Coast, from Cape Coast to Sagandita Kradi, and it went like that. Koforidua, this Kumansi. We kept on going, Tamale and all that. And we had a true regional representation. So, when we finished with the boys, I came back. I was sent back to, I remember very well, the officer in charge at that time was Lieutenant Colonel Ofosu Apia, who, when Jerry Rollins came in, his second coming was in 81, eh?
Yeah, 81.
81, he moved troops from Takrady to come and quell the coup, and things went wrong. Quite a number of people lost their lives, I remember very well. Now, when we finished with that assignment, I was assigned to one battalion of infantry. One battalion of infantry is at Michel Camp. I don't know if you know Michel Camp.
Yeah, I know Michel Camp.
Yeah. That's another very interesting camp. I was there as a resident doctor for the troops.
Okay, so because of your medical profession, if you have just joined us, this is Prime Take, and we are speaking to Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, a diplomat, a politician, a doctor, an ex-military man, and a board member of Accra House of Doc. Just before we took a break, you were talking about how there was regional representation in the military service, simply because the country wanted to have every single region represented in the military service.
Absolutely.
Why was this necessary?
I think it was necessary because I am sure national security might have noticed that. In those days, the national security was then a national security. They used to call them special branch.
Okay.
These are trained people, not this sort of wholesale thing we do now. Well-trained people. They really study what is happening, and they brief government about it regularly. There's one who has been coming on there some time, one of the experienced ones, I've forgotten his name, and was some of the early trained officers. I think he's still around. He's written a couple of books on national security. So I'm sure they were able to inform government that we have to go this way, even though it was under a military regime. Because by then Achampon was in power.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yeah.
Now, and that was the main reason why we went to all the regional capitals, so that we can have access to anybody who wants to join the army. In those days too, it wasn't, I mean, you don't think about
having to go through a process.
No. If you are declared
man to help
no, it doesn't exist. It didn't at all, I can assure you. What we are seeing now, just yesterday somebody sent, I don't even know him, sent me a short message on my phone. So I said, may I know who is communicating with me? He gave out his name. I can show it to you. I say he's looking for a job. Can you imagine it? I don't know him. I'm not in government. I've not been in government for years. So that tells you that there is difficulty in this country, and there is difficulty in this country. I mean, we should stop trying to shy away from that. There is real difficulty in this country, and government has to sit up.
So why did we get it wrong?
Well, you see, I think it's a long journey. It's a very long journey. I say so because I think I have to come in with this. You know Kwame Pianim?
Yes.
After the killing of the judges, during the era of the AFRC, Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, as they called themselves in those days. And mind you, on the council, that's why I say I'll tell you something. On the council were 5 soldiers that I examined them to be fit medically into the armed forces. And that was in 1974. I don't know whether you are following.
I get it.
How do I get to know? I have just been released from prison. I wanted to overthrow Achampon, myself, and 4 other officers. So we were just thrown into Oshaford. We were there for years. Until Achampon was removed, we had our freedom, and I just came out. I came out some couple of months, then 15th May, Jerry John Rawlings. That was abortive. He was arrested. Now after that, I think a month later came March and Four and his group. A very good officer, that young boy, very, very young boy. And March and Four and his group. Then my good friend Captain Henry Smith of 1 Battalion of Infantry, they brought in really the coup that was successful on June 4th. By then, I have just been released from detention. So I had no hand in that one. But I was driving, I think by then when I came out, I came up with my uncle at Nyawo Clinic. So I was driving one time around 37 Military Hospital, and I stopped by the roadside to talk to somebody. And these young men, when they came in, the soldiers, not the officers, the soldiers mostly, they use a vehicle they call Prince Gore. So they were in this Prince Gore. The Prince Gore came and stopped right in front of me. So I said, "Are they boys coming to arrest me or what?" They said, "I am not part of it." Then 5 of them got out of the vehicle and sharply saluted me. "Good afternoon, sir." I said, "Good afternoon." Then I was amazed because I can't recognize any of them. Yeah. I'm talking about 74. I took them in 74, and the coup took place in 79.
79, yes. So it was 79, the second one was 81.
Yeah. It was then that they disclosed to me that they passed through my hands when I was doing the recruitment.
Oh, okay.
I was amazed.
So how come you wanted to overthrow a champion?
Well, as General Lensender said, the role of the military is not to rule the civilian. But African leaders have turned it the other way around. All coups in Africa are brought by the leaders themselves, And when they go wrong, and they are being advised by national security, they don't listen. I'm telling you.
If the role of the military is not to rule.
Not to rule. That is what it is. That's the traditional role of the military. But we have instances where the military has seized power in other countries. You know, Argentina and all these places.
But even in Ghana, when Rawlings
several times. Yeah. Several times. And I'll tell you one interesting thing. Well, we have to be careful because this is really something that happened. By then, I have not even joined the army. And I was told this by late Lieutenant General Joshua Hamidu, a very good friend of mine, who was once Kufuor's national security advisor. So I'm saying this because I hope people will learn from it. Now, Joshua was having a chat with me. And then the question of how Achambon came to power came up. This same question you're asking me.
Yes.
I asked him that question. And then he said, "Now, this is an interesting question." I said, "Well, why, sir?" He said, when Achambon came to power, he was then the head of military intelligence. He was then the colonel. He has gone to play tennis. When he had a call, that they are radio message, in those days, there was no cell phone, so radio, that he should see the president-elect immediately. Listen to me carefully. Now, the president-elect then was Professor Buzia. He was staying at that part of Accra, I've forgotten the name. So he drove there immediately. When he went in, the prof had a visitor, so he just waited. The colonel and the prime minister and the executive prime minister, you know the difference. Prime minister elect.
Yes.
Then later, who comes out of the prime minister's house Lieutenant General Afrifa. Listen to me carefully. Now, he called in, and Afrifa, of course, Hamidu immediately paid respect to Afrifa. Afrifa was a general, yes, and he was a colonel. So he stood up and greeted him. Then he was ushered in to see the Prime Minister-elect. The Prime Minister-elect said, "Oh, what I wanted to discuss with you, I've got some of the facts from General Afrifa. He said, I want to make General he was then a lieutenant colonel. Yeah, a lieutenant colonel who had been given the command of 5 battalions of infantry, the most notorious battalion in this country. I have served there before. So I want to give him another command in addition to that. Listen to me carefully. And the command the Prime Minister-elect wanted to add to Achampon's already important position was 1 brigade commander. When you are advised wrongly, this is what happens. The man is already holding a battalion that is a great confusion. You are going to add 1 brigade to it. 1 brigade means all the battalions in the southern sector.
He's now going to be in charge.
Oh, yes. And you know, we have lost some of the best officers. Geological made to advise him that he is from military intelligence. So anything on any officer is aware. I think you follow me.
Yes.
He told Professor Buzia that for A, B, C, D reasons, Achapon cannot have that command. He told the professor, Dr. Buzia, he was a professor, he told him openly, professionally, if I put it,
yes,
for A, B, C, D reasons, he can't be given a command, such a command, because that's a high command. The prof said, he said, apparently, when the General Afrifa came there, it was the same topic that was discussed. And the general gave
the green light.
The green light to the Prime Minister-elect. And Achampong was made brigade commander. First as acting brigade commander. 1 battalion commander and 1 brigade commander. These are things that people must know. It will take 3 years and you overthrew Buzia. Now think about it.
I get it. It means that he was handed the power to take such a decision.
He was handed the power, but to the wrong person. There were better officers there. I want you to understand me well. There were better, who were professional officers, who would not remove, what do you call it, a democratically elected government. Maybe for one simple reason that they come from the same area. These are some of the things, that's why I say, so even at that, it happens. Even at that time, we have to go nationwide to look for soldiers. You follow me?
But if you also overthrew a champion, why not going to rule the people, or you're going to overthrow him and give it back to democratic leadership?
But that is a problem. Look at the number of coup d'etats we've gone through. Right down from the time of General Kotoka.
Yes.
Kotoka Ankara, Ankara Afrifa. Yes, Ankara Afrifa.
And a champion.
Then a champion came in. J. Rawlings came in. When Rawlings was, in fact, before Rawlings came, there have been series. Our group was there too, myself and George Menyela. We wanted to remove Kutu Achembong. So you ask yourself, why so? And the reason is quite simple. Politicians fail to do the right thing.
Do soldiers do the right thing? Do military do
why Achembong was removed, listen to me carefully, was he got soldiers more involved in civilian life.
And soldiers don't want to be involved in civilian life?
No. You'll be surprised, no. A good, well-trained officer would not like to be involved in civilian life. Achembong appointed some of them managing directors, this. No. No. A good soldier, and we can cite some of them. That's all the good soldiers.
See.
You follow me? So, what one should do always is to keep your eyes open. And also make sure you listen to the advice coming from national security. Not what we have now.
So what you have now is not fit for purpose?
Oh, look, what I will say, we might have gone through rough times if we have been years back with the military. Let's be frank about certain things.
So Ghana would have been better to govern?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What is happening now, if it had been years past, would have called for coup d'etat long ago. That's the point that I'm saying.
Are you suggesting that the current that we've had in this country, say, since we became a democratically, or since we had democratically elected leaders, the way they've led the country, years past, they would have been a coup d'etat?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Only a fool will not recognize. And the true soldier will know that. There are people who feel the same way I feel. I'm not interested in military government because I know the harm they bring to the country. But for heaven's sake, when you are running a nation, run the nation with integrity. That's what I'm saying.
So the past leaders or the leaders of this democratic government, they failed?
No. You know on what basis Nkrumah was removed? With all the wonderful work that he did for this country. They say it wasn't democratic. That was the basis. Nkrumah was removed because there is the argument that he has set up a one-party state and this and that and that. That's why Nkrumah was removed. Now look at what we are going through now.
Are we worse off?
We are worse off. If that is what you want to hear. We are worse off. Look at what happens during elections. People being killed. Look at the behavior of so-called militia. I mean, they are legion. I can't count them. Look at the infractions. Not just from ordinary people, but from ministers. I mean, you see, when people fail to see this, it amazes me. I mean, there are serious things happening in this country. Apart from the mess in which we are with the economy. Recently, look at what happened. A huge amount of money reported stolen from a former minister's house. I mean, these are things that will get a soldier crazy about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago. I'm telling you. I am telling you.
Wow, that's quite an interesting one. But there's a certain question I want to ask.
Yeah.
In as much as we are having a conversation about your life story and all that, but some of these things, they become quite relevant. But before I ask that question, if a military soldier wants to take over, does he have conversation with other military soldiers to be on standby, or how does it happen? Because we've had so many coups. So
I think
so. Let's say when a champion wanted to overthrow Pusia, probably he's told Dr. Nyanklo to be on standby. I want to take this action. Then he gets, let's say, the people.
No, because telling somebody to be on a standby doesn't mean you disclose your intention to the person. These are two different things.
But so the people within your circle,
you have a circle.
The plan.
Yeah, of course, you have to start from somewhere. And there must be a nucleus.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 1, 2, 3 people. You follow me? If they agree on an issue, then the conspiracy starts building.
So if
you follow me?
If it is with
and then a lot depends on the leader and the command he's holding.
Oh, okay.
That's very important.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yes.
The leader. That's why I said Hamid advised the Prime Minister that Acheampong wasn't a material for that hand yet. You follow me?
But the likes of Hamid too was there when Acheampong did that, and why did they not disagree with him but still allowed him to proceed? And
no.
I'm speaking as a civilian. I don't understand these things.
Look, a coup has been done by 5 battalions of infantry, led by Acheampong.
Yes. And you were also brigadier.
The interesting thing about that coup was that Acheampong was the head of the battalion and at the same time head of 1 brigade.
Yes.
That's a strong position. Now, 1 battalion of infantry in Tema, Michel Camp,
yes,
is headed by a lieutenant colonel. The second in command was a major. He recently passed on.
So it means that you must have all these people in your circle.
I'm telling you, you were asking how Acheampong formed the group. He didn't talk to the commander. Do you understand me?
Yes.
He spoke with the second in command. When the commander is not there, then the second in command.
Command takes charge.
He spoke with the second in command, who was a major. I told you the commander should be a lieutenant colonel. And there was a commander there, but I didn't trust the commander. So he spoke with a lieutenant, he spoke with a major. And the major got the trick. And not just, listen to me, it's not just Michel Camp, all the other battalions that he attached. 2nd Battalion at Aprendu, Takrady, he spoke with the second in command. I don't want to mention the others.
Oh yes, I get it.
Yeah? Signals, he spoke with the next in command. And other places. So that is a nucleus. So when he moved, so his coup was a bloodless coup. He just came, announced that the government is overthrown for A, B, C, D reasons, and that was that. And he stayed almost for 8 years.
In power. That's quite an interesting one. But talk to me briefly on this one. You were talking about how the governance of the country today, if that happened many years ago, probably there would have been once you're getting angry and saying, no, we cannot continue to allow this, excuse my language, nonsense to happen. Prior to the elections of 2016, you had a warning for Ghanaians. Would you say you have vindicated that you warned Ghanaians not to give this government power, but Ghanaians went ahead and voted for them? Are you vindicated that what you just said, like you cited the example of a former minister allegedly having money in her house, kind of suggests that there's mismanagement of the country and that we gave power to the wrong people?
embattled Commissioner of Police, Alex Mensah, did not mince words. In his submission before the committee, he confirms dealing with Daniel Bugri Nabu, but doubts the authenticity of the leaked tape.
Because the audio, which I've just listened, is an edited one. There's a likelihood that somebody will fake my voice. But I can't confirm because I don't have that technical system to confirm it.
Is there any flow of conversation on this tape that you, in true humility, will say that nobody is faking my voice? Or it is the entire tape that you want to say that somebody is trying to, fake your voice?
The chairman, not the entire.
COP Alex Mensah has also taken on his boss, the IGP Akufo Dampare, for mismanaging the Ghana Police Service.
Honorable Chair, I will not deny that fact today, tomorrow, or the next day. I will make that statement again. That the current Inspector General of Police is not managing the police service well. It's something I will not run away from. I will say it everywhere, anywhere that I go. And you can do your own investigations, call police officers underground, and find out from them.
Commissioner, calm down. Calm down. Can you assist this committee? You see, within the context of your statement,
he revealed that majority of the police officers are currently disgruntled, which has the potential of affecting the political fortunes of the MPP, a reason he's unhappy about his administration.
As we speak, majority of police officers are not happy. And if these same people are those who are going to police the elections, and remember, police officers, they vote. Their wives vote. Their children vote. Their mothers and fathers vote. That is my concern.
Mr. Alex Mensah has therefore expressed willingness to open up on the rot in the Ghana Police Service, but on condition of an in-camera hearing. Chairman of the committee investigating the leaked tape, Atachia, said they may consider doing so due to the sensitive nature of the information,
which is for public consumption. Some testimonies and pieces of evidence might have national security implications, and therefore in-camera hearing is one of the ways to address a problem. So when we come to terms with that, why not? We invite him to give us in-camera testimony.
There were earlier objections by lawyers for Alex Mensah, which were overruled. Their concern was about reported prejudicial comments by members of the committee, Peter Tobu and James Agaga. Mr. Atachia said the committee will offer them the opportunity to adduce evidence.
We will not stop them from tendering evidence which should aid what we are doing. Guess what? Even the members of the committee are not enemies of the witnesses at all, or the people involved. And therefore, if you start doing what they call evidence gagging, then you are biased ab initio. That is why I said anything of consequence that they will need to aid what they are doing, they should give it to them freely. And they are about to do that. In the same token, if there's anything which is exculpatory of them and they have, the committee should look at it. And if there's plain bias about certain things, I've said one thing which is very important. I would not be the person trying to get biased members of the committee to mess them up. So I don't have the lenses of bias. But if they believe that the committee is not properly constituted, then it's above me. I'm not the one who constitutes the committee as a speaker.
The committee has adjourned sitting to Friday to continue probing COP Alex Mensah and Superintendent George Asare. Meanwhile, the third officer, Superintendent Eric Emmanuel Jebi, who has denied dealing with Bugri Nabu, has been discharged. From Parliament House, Samuel Mbura, Joy News.
Asare, do you know?
Well, so a wrap of events in Parliament, but we know that that hearing would certainly be continuing today. And Samuel Mbura, who's been monitoring the events ever since that hearing started, is joining us in studio just to get more clarity on some of the key issues transpiring before the Speaker's Special Committee hearing the alleged plot against the Inspector General of Police. We'll also be joined very shortly by Adib Saani, a security analyst, Justin Puara Teruwaja. He's been a serviceman before, has extensive experience into happenings within the police service. They will all share their thoughts with us shortly. Samuel Mbura, good morning. Let's start off with what we're expecting today, because we've seen, a flow of events and some of the key happenings, especially yesterday's hearing, where we had COP Alex Mensah confirmed now that, okay, yeah, I'm the one on the tape, except to say it was doctored, some issues were not captured as it should. Just take it away. Give us a wrap of some of the key highlights that many of us may have missed out on.
All right. Good morning, Bernard. We know that this is the third sitting of the committee. The first one, Bugri Nabu couldn't avail himself because he was reportedly sick. The second one, he appeared and gave testimony before the committee, where he mentioned these three officers. The officers included Eric Emmanuel Jebi. He is a director at the Criminal Investigations Department Forensic Science Laboratory Unit. The second person was COP Alex Mensah. He is on a terminal leave pending retirement. Okay. The third person is Superintendent George Asare. George Asare works at the protocol unit of the Ghana Police Service at the headquarters. So the committee extended an invitation to these officers to come and also give witness or testify. So in the letter, they indicated that the leaked tape in circulation included senior officers in which they wanted them to come and then examine.
So all three were invited?
Yeah, all three were invited. All three appeared before the committee with their lawyers. Before the committee, after the introduction, the committee wanted to proceed with the playing of the leaked tape or the recorded tape. However, lawyers for Alex Mensah, COP Alex Mensah, raised some preliminary comments or objections about some of the members of the committee. They were saying that they made some prejudicial comments that have the potential of influencing their report about their clients. The reference was actually, the other issue had to do with the terms and reference of the committee. They said they were not given in prior notice. So at that point, they were incapacitated or their client couldn't have spoken to the issues.
So they're not sure of what exactly the committee was looking for.
So the chairman came in, Mr. Atachia came in, and he gave the explanation that your client has not been charged. He's only here to examine and to be questioned. So it is not a charge sheet where you need to know your charge before. It is even a civil engagement, not a criminal one. So that was overruled. The second objection had to do with two committee members. The vice chairman is James Agaga, MP for Bulsa North. And they said he made some comments that were captured by a newspaper, the Ghanaian Standard, and the report indicated that or attributed certain words to Mr. Agalaga. He said that the comments passed for treason. When he was,
this is from the lawyers.
Yeah, this is from the lawyers. And that's what the newspaper reported. So based on this comment, they felt Mr. Agalaga already had an entrenched position and he's a member of the committee. So how can you be your own judge in the case? So that was on the part of Mr. Agalaga. The second person was Peter Tobo. the MP for Wa West, who is also a member of the committee. Their concern with Peter Tobo was that Mr. Tobo allegedly, on an interview with NIT FM, indicated that the conduct by the officers in the leak, as heard in the leak tape, was very dangerous for the country, and then they were unprofessional. They were not qualified to be. He used all manner of words on them. So with their clients appearing before the committee and the comments by these people, they felt that the comments they've already judged
the case.
So they were not fit to be part of the committee. So the chairman came in again, and then he explained that these are members of the committee. They don't have the final say. I don't have the power to take them off from the committee. The speaker constituted it, so I cannot on my own remove them.
So all the committee was doing was to, ask questions, get responses to the questions, and then submit their findings to the speaker.
Exactly.
But this was supposed to have happened amongst 3 individuals. Some were let go.
Yeah, exactly. So before then, I just want to establish the point that there were earlier objections that they wanted to exclude some of the committee, but that was actually overruled. The committee chair assured that there will be justice at the end. Okay. But the lawyers said they had tips that they'll be presenting today to prove their case that the officers or the committee members or some of the committee members
made those comments.
So they were overruled and they proceeded. They played the tape for over 40 minutes. We all listened. And then the first person that appeared before the committee was Superintendent Eric Emmanuel Jebi, who is the director at the Criminal Investigation Department, Forensic Science Laboratory Unit. Right. So he was questioned. He said he has never had any dealings with Bugri Nabu. He doesn't know him. He doesn't have his contact. But if you remember, Bugri Nabu in his testimony said that he called Mr. Jebi on one Sunday per the arrangement as part of the plot to go and meet the president. But Mr. Jebi wasn't around. He was in the Eastern region attending a funeral. So Mr. Jebi confirmed that, yes, he was at a meeting in the Eastern region, but he never spoke with Bugri Nabu. He saw several calls on his phone. He stepped aside and told the person that, I am at a noisy place. Let me step out and call you. But he never called the person.
Okay, he wasn't sure, basically, if that was Bugri Nabu.
So after the back and forth, he was discharged after denying it. And then he has been discharged by the committee temporarily. So as and when the committee needs him,
then they may bring him back.
Bugri Nabu has also been discharged, but as and when they need him, they'll bring him. Okay. So the next 2 people were COP Alex Mensah and that of Superintendent George Asari. So they asked George Asari, after playing the tape, whether he could confirm his voice. Then he confirmed that that was his voice. They didn't proceed with him. Then they moved on to COP Alex because he was the main person of attention here. COP Alex said that, yes, I've met Bugri Nabu 4 times at different locations. We've had private conversations in which he will not divulge in public. He made that emphatic point. However, the audio in circulation is not a whole tape. There may be a full one. So the committee, if there's a full one, it should make it available to them. Said he's rather asking the committee to give him the full tape because what he is hearing there is different from the private conversation. It's like someone represented his voice or doctored it. So he confirmed that was his voice. He confirmed he had engagement with Bugri Nabu. However, he denied that. He indicated that the voice appeared doctored. So there were several issues that came up, including why he was heard in the tape talking about the IGP Dampari not being the right person now to lead the police service. And he filmed. He was actually angry in his response. You could see that he was agitated. He said that he actually confirmed what was said in the tape, that he said Dampari is not the correct person. And he will say it anytime and anywhere.
And that's his conviction, he says.
Yeah. So that's his conviction. He believes that Dampari is not competent. He's not managing the Ghana Police Service well. And if you check with the rank and file of the Ghana Police Service, the junior officers, the senior managers, and then the officers, they are not happy about his management. And that is why he was worried about the continuous stay of Mr. Dampari.
Okay, so that's Samin Bura who was there for us. And today he will be returning. I also want to bring into this conversation Adib Saani, a security analyst, helping us to do the discussion. Adib, a senior police officer, telling us now what possibly might be happening within the service. The fact that junior officers reportedly are disgruntled, and it's because he believes George Akufo Dampari, doctor, is not managing the service well.
Well, thank you so much. A very good morning to you. Indeed, as a leader, there is absolutely no way you can please everybody all the time. I might have my differences over certain policy directives of the Ghana Police Service. One of the major challenges I had with the police service in recent times is their attitude towards the media. It's been a major challenge. Yeah. I mean, you can never do away with the media. The media goes to cover events. I understand they are asked to leave. Even during funerals of police service, I mean, the media goes there, they are asked to leave. And like I always say, you cannot fight the media, for crying out loud. It is no accident that it is called it is the fourth estate. I've also had calls from a section of the population, and including very top people from within and outside of the police service, who have spoken about certain boys called Dampari boys. And that these are the new crop of police officers who don't respect nobody. You know, They don't respect. Yes. I mean, on several occasions. Even my colleague, Emmanuel Kutin, has had a run with them not too long ago. He called me to the Manette police station. I was with him, and these boys were all over the place. And you speak with the commander, you know, not the Manette commander, but there were some other commanders we spoke with, and they are like, you know, we cannot talk. We don't want to say anything, you know. And it was quite obvious that they had certain challenges. Maybe there's a bigger truth to the matter that we know, but surely...
And possibly, if that's the case, possibly what are you suspecting? That George Akufo Dampare is simply gagging his men? Is that what you suspect?
It's difficult to say. I mean, he's my friend. On several occasions, we've had conversations around his vision for the police. And I can say without mincing words that he means well for the police. Just that he might have engaged in certain activities that ended up being very unpopular amongst his rank and file. A clear case in point is when you need information from the police these days, are you able to get interviews?
Well, if you ask me that question, the experience is that there's a new structure towards communication at the Ghana Police Service. We're not sure if that's to be interpreted to mean George Akufo Dampare is not interested in speaking to the media. But yes, you can see visibly that almost all officers have been ordered not to speak until that clearance comes from the headquarters. I guess it's just a new way of dealing with issues. I don't know what your thoughts are. But
the thing is, if there's any situation involving the police, what do? They issue a statement.
That's right.
And the statement, there are follow-ups. Sometimes they are incoherent, inconsistent, and, you know, somewhat confusing. So you would need to follow up with interviews like it was done in the past, you know, when Kwesi Ofori and the rest were there, Sebas Arthur, you know, we used to meet in the studio.
Yeah, Adib, I'm saying that I don't disagree with you on that. I'm just trying to point out what the, you know, experience or challenge has been with the service.
Absolutely. But nevertheless, I mean, since he became IGP, a lot has changed within the Ghana Police Service. We've had a revamping of the cold case unit. Now we have the K9 unit. We have the horse patrols. When you go towards the Kwame Nkrumah Museum, you see them helping people cross traffic and all that. There's more accountability within the police service. I'm not saying it's a perfect institution today. It is not a perfect institution. But what I am very worried about is whether COP Alex Mensah is a police officer or a politician. He spoke more like a politician than a police, you know, professional. And I think that is sad, because the thing is, we cannot delink politics from police. This is something that has always been the case for years on end. The chairman of the police council, for crying out loud, is the vice president. Okay.
Yeah.
However, the seeming over politicization of the police service is really a matter of great concern. There are speculations to the effect that if you are not even connected, you are not able to get recruited. If you are not connected, your promotions don't happen. People you have the same educational qualification with are promoted when you are not promoted, and all that. So it is really problematic. And listening to COP from the scratch, he was being dodgy about the whole thing. At a point, he said the part of the tape was doctored. Then at a point, he said the whole thing is doctored. Then the next minute, he said, okay, he didn't hear it well. So they asked him, okay, those you heard, were they a true reflection of what you think you said at the meeting? He couldn't tell. So they had to replay the whole thing all together. And, you know, I mean, I'm a body language expert. I mean, looking at his body language, his mannerism, the inconsistency in some of the statements and all that, it was quite obvious that there's a lot more to the issue.
Yeah, precisely. And that partly could be infighting within the Ghana Police Service and jostling for power. And it may not just be COP Alex Mensah. There might be other officers. Because for him to boldly say that you can ask the others, it does suggest that a lot more is happening. Let's hear from Justin. Pora Teriwaja, who's also a legal practitioner. He's been in the service before too. And Justin, there are a lot that we're now learning about how the police service functions. It appears that beyond, if you're a junior officer, it's fine, you can play professionalism. But when you begin to rise to the top, then politics sets in. That's the reality of our police service, isn't it?
And in my opinion, I think that they are products of the system that we have currently. If you look at the Constitution, we have a whole chapter on the police service. And it makes it clear. That is chapter 15. That is Article 202. It says that the Inspector General of Police shall be responsible for the operational control of the service and the administration. So he appoints the various regional commanders, he appoints the district commanders, all the way to the station officers. And so, if you have an IGP desiring to have certain things done, it's very easy. It gets some people, the operational control, it gets people appointed along the line to make sure that he gets what exactly he wants to do. And for fear of being transferred or for fear of negative reaction from the IGP against them, they may fall in line and do what he wants. And when I listen to the investigations that are going on, the decisions of the ad hoc committee, there were certain things that are a bit concerning. There was talk of mafia tactic, and we all know what a mafia is. So if we are desiring that there should be an IGP to come and implement a mafia-style operational control and administration of the service, it's something that should give all of us cause for concern and sleepless nights. Because this is kind of the key of the whole thing. And that's why I said they are products of the system. We have a system that is based on patronage.
Yeah, and that's the system I'm trying to explore with you and your experience. And that's why I was building the point about the promotion system within the Ghana Police Service and how that works. Listening to COP Alex Mensah, it's no secret actually that you find senior officers lobbying to either be IGP or to get promotion to become COP within the police service. It's normal,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that is the system, because the system is not a meritocracy. When you have a system that is based solely on merit and performance on the job, and with political party connection and that kind of thing being less important, but the most important thing that gets you moving forward is performance, then you don't see this type of thing. And even if people have a mafia mindset, they find it difficult to implement it. Our current system is quite weak. And there was this occasion when Barack Obama of the U.S. came to Ghana and addressed Ghana's parliament, I think somewhere in 2009, I remember that. And I may be mistaken with the year, but he came and addressed Ghana's parliament. And he made it clear to us that we have institutional weaknesses, and that for our democracy to thrive, we need to strengthen our institutions. And the institution can be weak because of some of these things. And when the institution is weak, and you get the wrong type of people appointed, then the whole society suffers. I hope we all remember the issue of Ayawaso West Wagon, the violence there. The recent election 2020, we even have people dying in Petima South. And these are the things that we should have at the back of our minds whilst we discuss these things. Because it's very, very revealing that people with a certain kind of agenda come on board and they pursue it in a dogged manner, irrespective of what the facts on the ground are. And then when there is resistance, we are ready to maim and kill.
Okay, the comparative studies, though, you've learnt about policing in other jurisdictions.
Yes.
How do we correct our system now? Elsewhere, do you do complete meritocracy? Because the police plays a very important role, a pivotal role to the running of and functioning of government. So you want to have, a commander-in-chief who have control over the police and to have control over the, top security tapos.
Exactly. That is the meritocracy I was talking about. Mm-hmm. When I was in the police service, I left the police service in 2008. Okay, I was called for about 2002. I joined the police service soon thereafter, and I exited in 2008 because I wanted to practice. I realized I was becoming more of a police officer than a lawyer, and I had to make a choice, so I chose the law. Now, but the point is, once I was in the service, 2006, something struck me. There was a British Prime Minister having a meeting with his cabinet, and the police stormed there and arrested members of his cabinet. He himself wasn't arrested, and I began asking myself, and they investigated them. I mean, arrested them, sent them to different locations, and then interrogated them to see whether there will be conflict in their accounts to get to the bottom of it. And the thing struck me at that time. I was like, can this happen in Ghana? And then that began my quest to find out what are the alternatives in these other countries. And I discovered that in the UK, for instance, it is not our type of system. Meritocracy is much more important in the appointment of senior, the commanders of that nature, people who are in charge of the police. Imagine that we have a police appointments board made up of politicians and ordinary people. Imagine that nurses in Accra, they don't even have an IGP for the whole country. The very people who came and gave us IGP don't have IGP like that in Britain. So they have like chief of police for, chief constable for Accra, chief constable for Kumasi, chief constable for this, and he's in charge of that. And his appointment is based on merit. So then you are made chief constable, subject to reappointment, based on performance. And the board that is going to evaluate you for reappointment is not purely made up of politicians. Imagine a board of, let's say, 15 people. One person is representing the nurses in the region, one representing the teachers, one representing lecturers, blah, blah, blah. And then politicians have representation as well. So let's say 15, and the politicians are just like 5. And it is about performance. So if you're going to use political patronage, you get there and the politicians will vote for you, but then the ordinary people who are not getting quality service on the ground will vote against you. So what do you do if you're a chief constable in such a scenario? You make sure that you deliver on your promises, irrespective of which politician is happy or not. So that's how can they go there and they storm the place. They're able to arrest all the people, the right-hand man of the prime minister, and investigate thoroughly without fear of negative repercussions. And then when you have such a system, why won't people want to do the right thing and then rather make sure that they're in the good books of the public? But in our type of system, we can keep having a Ayawaso West Wagon type of scenario, as long as the people who are to be appointed know that, look, I just need to be a yes man for the politicians, the president or whatever. And,
okay.
And then we have that type of situation. So you see Alex Mensah, for instance, George Mensah. He's a nice man. When I was in the police service, I know him. And I was surprised to hear those type of statements coming out of his lips.
And could it not be because of this? Even though you are out of the service, you've been watching the service from afar. The style, the mode of leadership of George Akufo-Dampare. Do you see him building an institution, or this is just someone taking all the shine?
I'm not getting your question very well.
Yeah. Do you see him building an institution? I mean, the IGP, or
Yes,
this is all about him, by the way.
Yes. So far, from afar, I'm no longer in the service. But from afar, I get that impression. I may be wrong, but let me just give you one observation I made. I've been to the police headquarters a number of times. And when I get there, I see order and discipline much more than what I used to experience when I was there, and even after leaving the place. You get there, even how to enter the police service, the police headquarters. When you are driving in there, you see the arrangement is made. There's much more discipline just by observing that alone. That tells a story. That this is somebody who is ready to make sure that things are done right.
Okay.
If you visited the police headquarters before and you go there now, you see that no, the place is changed. There's something different there.
It has changed, not just, I think also in terms of structures, if you want to put that on record, in terms of the structures. Saani, let's talk about the ambition to become IGP, as COP Alex Mensah has been pointing out. It appears it didn't start today.
Yeah, at the time he was at the rank of ACP, Assistant Commissioner of Police. He started lobbying even in 2017. So the question was asked as to whether an ACP qualifies to be an IGP. And he said the rank doesn't matter. Once you're a commissioned officer, you can become an IGP. So he has been lobbying. This is not the first time.
Yeah.
He admitted that, yes, they have been moved from those times till now. And it is not something that he hide from the public, but he has been lobbying to become IGP.
And he says that this is not new to the service.
Yeah.
You often find ADCs, people serving political appointees, having some sort of relationship with them. He believes it's healthy to do that.
Yeah, so in the case of Dampare, he's accusing him of having some relationship with the NDC.
That's the opposition
the
political
opposition
party.
NDC. He said he was having a very good relationship with the former president of blessed memory, Evans Atamios.
Okay.
And if you look at the trajectory of his promotion, at the time he was a chief supu, Dampare was a sergeant. That is his junior rank.
Right.
Then he rose to become COP before him, and then later became IGP under the Akufo-Addo administration. So he feels like politics played a role. Politics has favored Dampare to get to where it is. And then he's still trying to favor the NDC ahead of the 2024 election. So that's where the whole issues about politics came in. He was asked as to whether he was a supporter, card-bearing member of NPP or not. And he said his family has been a UP tradition supporters.
And then we saw the intervention from the chairperson of the committee saying that the questions might be sensitive. Did he point to any concrete thing, a reason for which he's still convinced that this man is not the best man who President Akufo-Addo should be putting at the top for the Ghana Police?
He actually had more to review.
Okay.
However, because of the sensitive nature of the information, there was a request for an in-camera hearing that at least certain information are there that you cannot put out there because of this national security reasons. So that request was made. The committee is considering granting him an in-camera hearing, possibly today, so they can get additional details
on that. Adib Saani, the possibility of even having the IGP himself appear before this committee, because I'm not sure that George Akufo-Dampare is the only one who, some private conversations will be centered around. Looking at what COP Alex Mensah told us, he's had the intention long. Ever since he joined the service. Others do same, and he's been pointing to some aide-de-camps, individuals who've worked with these political appointees, and all they do is to try and strike some good relations with the political class, so as they can, so as to get some appointment when they win political power.
Something. Hello.
I'm with you, Adib.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear, Adib.
Wonderful. I said there's something we need to know, okay? There's no way you can become an IGP without, at a point, becoming somewhat political. There's no way. And you see, there's a thin line between being political and being the professional you are. Okay? Every human being has some political tendencies in him or her. But surely, before you become an IGP, the government in power should be comfortable with you. They should be okay working with you. You should have had some few people to at least say something on your behalf. But you just don't sit at one place and expect you to come knocking at your door. Things don't happen that way, especially at the very top, okay? However, my concern with the politics within the police service has to do with you becoming so political to the extent it compromises your professionalism and it compromises your ability to execute the mandate that you are supposed to under the law. That is the problem. Almost every IGP I know has in one way or another lobbied to be an IGP. So for anyone to tell you that I became an IGP because I'm the most hard-working police officer, I'm the most qualified, no, things don't happen that way.
Things don't work that way. So George Akufo-Dampare did not become IGP solely on the basis of merit.
It's a combination of a lot of factors. Surely it should be based on his track record. It should be based on his educational background. A lot should be taken into consideration. And like I also indicated, the government of the day should be willing to work with you. Okay? But of course, you should have also had some few political godfathers mention you to the powers that be. Oh, I know him. I mean, I can, guarantee that he's the best man for the job. Okay? Because there's politics in it. There's so much politics in it, but you have to ensure that the politics in it doesn't become so of the.
Adib? Okay, looks like we're having a challenge there with Adib Saani, who will join us back shortly. And Justin, you're still with us. The work of the committee itself, let's take a look at that. Are you confident that anything at all would change after this committee hearing? The feeling is that the police is largely controlled by the executive. So depending on the kind of political party in power, the kind of presidency we have, that's what's going to influence, the administration of the police service.
But before I come to that, Adib Saani talks about the fact that political considerations influence the rise of the current IGP. I think that is yet to be looked at, because I remember Honorable Peter Tobu asked Commissioner of Police George Alex Mensah, if he was aware that the promotion regulations, if somebody became a chartered accountant, he was supposed to be made a superintendent of police. And he admitted. So if the fact that he became a chartered accountant, he was leapfrogged to the position of superintendent, and from there, from superintendent, you just need 2 more promotions and you are a commissioner of police. From there, you become chief superintendent and then assistant commissioner. So that kind of made him to leapfrog to that position. So then if he got it because he became a chartered accountant somewhere along the line and he had to be promoted to superintendent, then it would not be fair to say it was politics that propelled him that far. Because I joined the police service as a lawyer, and because I was a lawyer, I was made DSP, Deputy Superintendent of Police, straight away. So if somebody says because I was made Deputy Superintendent of Police, it was political, then that person is not being fair to me. And I think the same unfairness may be applied to the current IGP. If you say he was a sergeant, then from there he was propelled to superintendent or something like that, and you do not look at the fact that he became a chartered accountant, and the rules at the time, if you were a chartered accountant, you merited such a leapfrogging.
I see.
That's a point that we need. And it came out in the proceedings of the committee yesterday. And Judge Alex Mensah himself admitted that. So then if he knew that this was the case and he goes to meet Chief Nabu and he's talking about the fact that the person was a sergeant when he was an officer, then he was really not being fair to the man.
And to the question about if anything positive is going to come out of those committee hearings, because this is much more about administration.
I understand. The buck stops with the president in the current scheme of things. He appoints and fires he hires and fires the IGP. So, and once the person is IGP under the Constitution, he's in charge of the operational control and administration of the police. So, all this, yes, it will help highlight and put pressure on the powers that be to make sure that the right thing is done. But to what extent the president will cave into this pressure, I'm not too sure. That would be my answer.
And this is what I want to take your thoughts on, gentlemen. The point about possibly inviting the IGP himself to appear before the committee. Justin, you agree with that?
Well, to the extent that he may need to clarify things, because he is not the person being investigated there. But if there is something that they need him to clarify, because what is admitted needs no proof. Judge Alex Mensah himself admitted that this person merited the superintendent promotion, which was more like a leapfrogging. So then if the man was leapfrogged because he merited it by dint of hard work to become a chartered accountant, it's not easy to get it.
And not necessarily because of his promotion, but on the basis that an accusation is being made, he's not running the police service well. We should all be concerned about this.
Now, that aspect, from what I gather, that one is going to be in camera. So if that one is, he's able to give those further and better particulars in camera, well, then if they want the IGP to also come, then I will guess that the IGP is also coming to stick to those issues in camera rather than the public system or public hearing.
So why should we vary the rules for the IGP? You have
allegations against the IGP. The further and better particulars are given in a closed system, and that's what I mean by in camera. Then it will not be fair for the IGP to come and then virtually play to the gallery by responding to them publicly. So yes, they've said he's not running the service well. Maybe he can also come and publicly say I'm running it well, but the details are reserved then for the in-camera system. But for him to come and then go into the details in an open system, it may not even be fair to Judge Alex Mensah himself.
Okay. You've been in the police service for quite some time now. What history do you have on the kind of relationship that exists between George Akufo-Dampare, the IGP, and COP Alex Mensah? Has there been any history of bad blood between them?
That much, it's difficult for me to tell. Because whilst I was in the service, I knew them, but the personal relationship between them, I never worked under either of them. So it's difficult for me to tell.
If an officer is promoted above his colleague who was then senior to him, do these happenings have the tendency of just ruffling feathers?
Personally, people may resent it. But if you are aware that the person came based on merit, that's the rules of the game at the time, this is what he deserves, and he gets that. And then it's just unfair to use that against the person without telling the whole story, to make it look like he rode on the back of political favor to get there, when the truth you have admitted before the committee is that he became a chartered accountant and was entitled to that treatment. I went there as a lawyer, and I was quite young, 28, and I was a DSP over people who were almost getting to retirement, and they were chief inspectors. And so if they said I came there based on politics, without looking at the fact that I came with a higher qualification, then that was not the result.
Okay.
More concerning, is also, before I go, more concerning is the fact that the kind of controversy that we are seeing in these proceedings is clearly misconduct. Section 17 of the Police Service Act, it clearly states that it's misconduct for a police officer to engage in activities that will generate political controversy. So professionalism requires that the police officer should avoid unnecessary political controversies of that nature. And so, if this matter is to be looked at thoroughly, the officers involved are supposed to face administrative disciplinary trial. If the right thing is to be done, they're supposed to face administrative disciplinary trial for these things to be looked into deeply.
Okay, Justin Poara Teriwaja, thank you for talking to us this morning. Adib Saani, your thoughts on whether or not the IGP should be invited?
Well, let me say emphatically that it will be unfair not to grant the IGP audience because its leadership style has been called to question. A lot of things was said that impugns him. So it is only right that he is given a fair hearing so we get to know his side of the story. Mr. JB was invited based on what Bugri Nabu said when he appeared, even though he wasn't mentioned in the tape. So as and when more questions are asked and answers are given, we need to follow up the leads. That is how you are able to fact find. But let me also clarify something, and it's extremely important. I never said the IGP got to his position because of politics or politically. What I said is there is some degree of political interference when it comes to appointments at such high level. You remember when the Chief Justice was appointed, there was a lot of hullabaloo about the fact that her seniors are there. Why her? Because the politicians want someone they will be able to work with. If I am president today, you think I'll be comfortable to go for someone I cannot trust, I cannot work with, over someone I can trust and work with? So these are the hard facts. We cannot believe about it, okay? And I repeat, there is always some degree of political expedience so far as appointing an IGP and other top public officials is concerned. But it might just be a figment of the wider scheme of things that would be looked at before that appointment happens. But surely there is politics involved if really you want the truth to be said.
Yeah, and that's the truth actually, because COP Alex Mensah has just opened up on that, the fact that all of them do it, after all. The possibility of having the IGP appear before the committee, your take on that?
Yes, it's surely a good thing. I think an invitation should be extended to him. A lot of things were said about him, his leadership style, and it's only proper that he comes to tell us his version of the story. I'm also hoping that as and when the sittings progress, any other names that come up, we make those follow-ups so we are able to get to the bottom of the matter. But in the end, I mean, like the committee said, theirs is to find the facts. After that, what happens? Then a report will be, I think, submitted to the speaker. Then if there's any, going forward, if there's any criminal culpability established, the laws must work. Because a lot of things were said on the tape that hinges on the security of the state, especially as we go into next year's election. One of the biggest threats to any election is lack of confidence in that process. So if you have anybody thinking that we have to remove the IGP to make things easy for us, how would it resonate with the support base? Of course, they would also take drastic measures by hook or crook to ensure it doesn't happen. So we need to be very careful because next year's election is going to be decisive. It's going to be a make or break for us. The whole world will be watching us, and that is when we get to the river, so we are able to cross or not. When we cross, then it is safe to say that we have arrived. If we don't, then we can say we are still experimenting. So everybody has a role to play, and I must congratulate you for the good work you're doing in educating the public and giving us the opportunity to feed in different perspectives to the discourse. And hopefully together we can make things happen.
Okay, the service deals with order. In fact, they enforce orders, so the service must be in order. Looking at the public display of the types of confirmation and disclosures we're seeing from COP Alex Mensah on how disgruntled some members of the police service might be, and looking at the fact that the internal issues of the Ghana Police Service is now being discussed publicly, does that not portend any form of, fractures within the service itself in terms of maintaining a command, maintaining the order within the service?
Well, I've had people call me to find out why this wasn't held in camera. Perhaps it was in the spirit of transparency, but sometimes when things become overly transparent, it tends to be disadvantageous to us. Indeed, a lot of things were said that I felt shouldn't have been within the public domain, because now it is common knowledge that there are fractures within the police service. It is something that I have personally known, but to what extent is what I'm able to tell. But surely now everybody knows, and that could be that could pose a security threat to the nation, knowing full well that the police service that has that within the law is supposed to ensure public safety, arrest criminals, prosecute them, etc., is in tatters. But we need to confirm whether really what he said is the truth or not. That is why we need to follow up by getting the IGP or not on board, so we are able to know the situation of the police as it currently is, and how we can deal with the legitimate issues that might have come up. So we have a unified police service that is committed to service to the people of Ghana.
Okay. So, I mean, what are we to expect today? The number of individuals appearing, the itinerary for the committee, and how many days they have actually just to deal with this case?
There is no exact time they have. As and when there's a need for them to call any person involved for interrogation, they will. But today, the committee is continuing the probing into the leak tape with COP Alex Mensah. As I said earlier, there's a possibility of the committee granting him an in-camera hearing. So after going through with him, they'll now bring in Superintendent George Asare, who Mr. Bugrinabu said was the one fronting for COP Alex Mensah. So it's another full day to go. It starts at 10, and as and when the committee is satisfied with the information provided, then they can adjourn or end the proceedings.
Do you get the disposition, the posture from the committee that they intend to maybe invite the IGP possibly to make some comments on some of these issues?
We've not gotten that indication yet, but the natural, for the purpose of natural justice, anyone whose name has been mentioned will definitely appear before the committee. The reason Superintendent Eric Emmanuel Jebi appeared before the committee was because Bugri Nabu mentioned
his name.
Yeah, that he allegedly spoke to him on phone, and he was the one to go to the presidency to tell the president about the happenings in the Ghana police. So once your name is mentioned and the committee sees it necessary that you come and testify, you'll be invited. So we should not be surprised to see the IGP invited by the
how does the committee intend to deal with allegations that some of its members are making prejudicial comments? That was raised, for instance, by the lawyers of COP Alex Mensah. That the concern was raised that they are making comments pointing to the fact that they seem to be on one man's side when it comes to this case. Is the committee resolved? To tackling that issue and the concern that these people have?
I spoke with Mr. Atachia, the chairman of the committee. He gave the indication that they've asked them to bring audios. The lawyers claim they have audios of their comments, so they've asked them to tender in the audios. They will study the audios, but until then, the committee members will continue. But they will give them the audience to present their evidence against the members.
Okay, just before we let Justin Teroaja go, Justin, the point about the conduct of members of the committee itself, This is a committee drawn largely from the Interior and Defense Committee because you have the ranking on the committee. Some other members are also being part of the committee. You take a look at what transpired yesterday, the concerns about Superintendent retired Lonchina Tubu, who's the MP for Wa West. You also have concerns being raised about the ranking on Interior and Defense Committee, James Agalga, and some of the comments they're making in the media. It does suggest that some of the members of the committee are on the side of the IGP. Do you see, the same concern?
Well, they said they will bring the tape because for now these remain allegations against them, and if they had admitted that they made judicial comment, then the option would be for them to recuse themselves. But now that I think they did not admit this and they have to prove. So for me, I would rather wait to see what will unfold today when these things are brought up.
Do you feel that the composition should be expanded at least just to give room for more fairness if indeed the concerns of COP Alex Mensa is anything to go by?
Well, I should think that if for instance, they are able to make a case, the person who against whom the case has been made can even recuse himself. It's even very possible that you get there today and then the people will recuse themselves that, look, we don't want to continue in the light of this or that. Or the matter will be referred back to the speaker, because the speaker constitutes this ad hoc committee. And then a determination will be made. You will remember the chairman of the committee, Honorable Atachia, made the point that he was not the one who constituted this committee, he only chairs it. So these issues about bias are not issues that he can conclusively pronounce upon. So that's why I think it is early days here, because we are being preemptive. We are preempting what will happen today. But we should rather wait, see what happens today, and then we can comment more in a more informed manner.
Yeah.
That's because we are just being speculative now.
Why are we living off, the aspect of the government, the Interior Ministry, the minister himself? He's made some pronouncements on this, indicating that the IGP, Geological is going nowhere. That could be undermined by the Commander-in-Chief himself. If the President feels that the IGP needs to go home based on what's happening now, I mean, IGP, COP, Alex Mensa all going home just to give a new face to the Ghana Police Service. That could happen. That's a possibility, isn't it? What options are there for the President, in your view?
Options for
the President?
The President?
Yes.
Oh, as matters stand, it is the President who has the prerogative to appoint and fire the IGP, irrespective of all this. So the President can choose who he wants to be the IGP. And that is what I have been saying, that Barack Obama pointed these things out to us a long time ago, a decade ago, that these are weaknesses in our institutions, and if we wanted to have a stronger democracy, we should be looking at strengthening these state institutions to be able to stand for everybody. One of the cardinal principles of rule of law is equality before the law. And so equality before the law means, no matter who you are, how powerful you are financially, politically, whatever, if you are, you violated the law, the state authorities, that is police and other agencies, police enforcement power, can arrest you, investigate you, and get the right thing done. And it seems to me that this is what the current IGP seems to be doing. Because if you listen to the tape and also what Commissioner of Police Judge Alex Mensa is saying, it's clear that he wants the man's job and he thinks the man is being too good. And so give it to me and I'll do a political partisan job for you. And this is very much concerned to any person who is minded about Ghana and Ghana's future rather than political party support. And so we should be looking at building institutions that will be there for us today and tomorrow. Whether we are in government, whether we are in opposition, the institution will stand for us. And that's what we should be looking at the end of all of this. How do we strengthen the state institutions to serve everybody and to promote the rule of law? Because the liberal democracy that we are borrowing from the West, it goes with 1, human rights, 2, rule of law. So if you say you want to practice liberal democracy, but then you don't have rule of law being strengthened and human rights culture is poor, then we are aping Western-style democracy. I mean, we are not doing the right thing. So it seems to me the current IGP is doing the right thing. And I wonder why he should be invited, as I was saying, because this is someone who has admitted that he was looking for his job. And so he's engaging in mudslinging.
Yeah.
And so if you mudsling someone to take his job, I mean, why should he be invited to come and say what?
Yeah, but I guess it will be prejudicial if we don't hear from the man who's also been accused of not running the police service well.
If the accusation had come in from somebody who is neutral and who is being objective in making that statement, the circumstances under which this particular statement was made is not worth the attention that an IGP calls it address.
All right, let's see what the committee will do about this. Justine Terewaja, thank you for joining us. Adib, the options for the president, let me wrap up with you on that.
Well, there are so many options on the table. You mentioned something I found quite intriguing, whether the IGP, the president should just ask everybody and give the police a new face. But I think that would be tantamount to running away from your troubles, because if you don't deal with the fundamental issues and just decide to ask them, it amounts to dealing with it superficially. It's just like a farmer getting rid of weeds on his farm, and instead of attacking its very DNA or uprooting it, you are rather trimming the top. So what happens? It grows back. So by removing them doesn't change anything. We need to deal with the fundamental issues. I mean, how independent is the police? What is the level of political interference? How do we depoliticize the Ghana police service to make it criminal to some extent, to engage in active politics when you are a police officer? Because now it's more of an ethical issue, okay? But for crying out loud, this is a security agency.
Yeah,
okay.
It is. It is a security agency, Adib, and we hope that things will change.
Well, I'm hoping so. But until we deal with the fundamental issues, I'm sorry to say we cannot change the Ghana Police Service. And in the past, there's been talk about making the police world-class, making its activities in line with best international practices. A whole lot of, things were said about the police. To what extent have we achieved that? I've had audience with the IGP, and he said quite a number of remarkable things, including the fact that he wants to change the regime where people sit on the job for a number of years and feel they are due for promotions. No, it's going to be merit-based. And I found that quite plausible. I mean, a lot of changes were beginning to happen within the police service, but I think the manner in which it was done is a problem. And I speak as a change management expert myself. In this part of the world we found ourselves, even if you are going to implement changes, it has to be gradual. A whole lot of strategies goes into it. I remember at the point we were implementing a government system which would have public officers use an IT-based system to engage in government business. It was a big challenge. It was a very big challenge because they thought, one, it was taking over their jobs, and two, they couldn't engage themselves in certain practices. But we made them know that, no, it is the same manual process you are going to IT, and it involved a number of activities we have to engage in to get their buy-in. So I think IGP should also re-look at his implementation strategy, so he has all his officers behind him.
Okay, grateful. Adib Saani, security analyst, joining us this morning on the AM show. Sami, we need to go.
Yeah.
What are we to expect? Obviously, you'll be there. There'll be coverage also on the Joy News channel, I believe.
Exactly. So today's sitting is not going to last less than 5 hours. As usual, started 10 yesterday, closed around 2:30 there. So we're expecting more revelations from the witness before the committee.
Yeah, and we'll see what then will happen. Samin Bra with our political desk, also watching the developments in Parliament for us regarding the alleged plot to oust the IGP. Stay on the Joy News channel. We'll bring you updates on that. This is the AM show. When we return, we'll talk about an event that's happening, obviously, in the coming days, which you need to know about, which you need to watch yourself. It's called Naked in Bed, and it's by the Riverman Productions. All that you need to know about that in a jiffy. Please stay. And you're welcome back to the AM show. What I've told you is that the AM show is worth waking up for. There was a fair surprise which I, unveiled about the Naked in Bed being produced by Riverman Productions. And there's another big surprise for you this morning as Anocho Abba is joining us as our guest presenter for the AM show. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're looking really beautiful this morning.
Thank you.
Yes, so what's coming up? We've been hearing about Naked in Bed and all of that. What are we to expect?
We'll be having a quick conversation shortly with Uncle Ebo White.
Oh.
How he came by that title in the first place. What the storyline is and why he believes that people should.
We're looking forward to that. Amazing story, this. Well, we'll be getting that shortly, but I guess Uncle Ebo is on with us now.
Okay, okay. Thanks so much for staying with us on AM Show. I am Anocho Abba, your guest presenter for today, and it's time for us to tell you about Naked in Bed. This is a new play by Riverman Productions, as usual, and it promises to be an exciting piece because that's what the man I'm about to speak to is known for. Joining me via Zoom is Uncle Ebo White. Good morning, Uncle Ebo White, and thanks for joining us on the AM show. From what I see, you are not naked in bed, so we are safe this morning. Please tell us what the play is about and how you got that title, Naked in Bed. Are you there? Please unmute. Can you hear me, Uncle Ebo White?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's better now. So I wanted to know what the story entails and why that title, Naked in Bed.
Well, once again, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
We go to school to learn a lot of things. We go to school to learn even how to drive. Some go to school to learn how to cook. But when it comes to the one area of our life that is more important than anything else, our love relationships, there's no school. And so what my productions seek to do is to provide, if you like, an informal kind of school for all things love and marriage. And Naked in Bed is in line with that. In particular, we are trying to deal with an aspect of marriage that we don't talk about often. And it is this. That when you see a boy and a girl at the altar on the day of their wedding, the girl knows exactly what she's doing. The boy does not. He has no clue. And so nobody prepares the boy for taking that step. He thinks he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't. The girl has been prepared by her mommy, her aunties, her big sis, her friends, her colleagues, and all that. The boy, nobody's prepared him. And so we have a lot of situations where what could have been great relationships go wrong because there was no one to help the boy in particular to understand the step he's taking. And so Naked in Bed is along that line. We are trying to particularly let couples wake up to understand the seriousness of the step they are taking and how to make it work.
And how did you come by that title? What is so particular? Why that title?
Well, every play, every story suggests its own title. By the time you write any story or any piece, somewhere along the line, a title will suggest itself. It either encapsulates the whole thing, the whole story, or it takes an aspect of the story that you hope people would pay attention to. But in this case, the story suggested itself, the title suggested itself in the story. And if you come to watch it, you would understand that it couldn't
we couldn't have given it any other title but Naked in Bed.
Uncle Ebo, let's talk about Samson, who was caught in bed by the fiancé in an seemingly compromising state with the best friend. If this happens to anyone in real life, how should the person handle such a situation?
Oh, those situations are difficult. You can be philosophical about it, but when it hits you, it is a very different game altogether. It is the kind of situation that nothing can prepare you. You know, no matter how you say, oh, I will deal with it this way, I'll deal with it this way, it never quite plays out that way when you are facing it in real life. And it happens to be an aspect of a story that somebody I know, somebody very close to me, had to deal with. And so how do you deal with it? Oh, you hope that you know the person you're going to marry well enough that you will not receive this kind of nasty surprise. But when it happens, nothing can prepare you for it.
So that's a true example of you need to wear the shoes and know how it will fit. That is only when you can know how to react if you are hit by such a circumstance. I know it starts showing this weekend. If I miss this weekend, what next? Or when next can I get to watch it?
It actually starts. It starts this evening at 7 p.m. This evening, and then tomorrow we'll have 2 shows, 4 and 8. Sunday 3 shows, 1, 4 and 8, and then the next weekend, the weekend after this, same times, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, so how do we get the tickets?
Oh, tickets will be at Joy FM. If anyone wants to come there, there are a number of outlets, but there are also online platforms on which one can get tickets. And so I would ask that if I'm sure they gave you an LPM for the production, I'm sure the details would be on that one.
Okay, since we are in a digitized world, I expected that. So definitely there's going to be a short code to buy from, I guess.
That's right. Yes. Yes, right. There is.
Okay. Final words, Uncle Ebo.
Well, in the first place, thank you to you guys for the good work you are doing. And the second thing is this. My platform is made for people who are working very hard. And you see, sometimes we work so hard and we fail to live. So every now and then, take time off to just come and live. Come and have fun. Come and enjoy the success you have already achieved. So you can go back and make more success. So I'm hoping that everyone listening to us, especially those in responsible positions, would take the time off and come and let their hair down. Because there's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of music, and there's a lot of dance in this. And then this evening, after the show, there would also be music for people to dance the night away. So let's see you this evening.
Thank you so much. That was playwright Uncle Ebo White, and I hope you'd make time to watch his latest play, Naked in Bed. Let's take a breather. We'll be back with what's happening on social media. Today, we're getting reactions to the probe into the leaked audio tape where some persons were alleged to be scheming to oust IGP Dr. George Ekufudampare. We're also asking on social media, what do you want government to focus on from now till end of year? Share your thoughts with us on AM Show. Join us right after this break. Welcome back. This is the AM Show with your guest, presenter, Anochewaba Ajwa Sewa. So let's do some social media comments. What are people saying on social media? What do you want government to focus on from now till end of year? share your thoughts with us on the AM show. This was what we posted, and these are some of the comments from our cherished followers. Kenatson said, selling the country for us to share the amount equally. Wow, that's hilarious. Matthias says, focus on stepping down, okay? Grant May, Ghana military. No, we ain't doing that. Pajo, focused on number one till he's jailed, okay? Bruno Koku says, Cecilia Dapa. Godwin Ajete Nahu says, nothing. It's obvious that anything the government place their focus on, they end up making a mess of it. Stephen Covey handing over note to John Mahama, okay? Joshua Amewonu to retire officers at high rank as Kenya president did. If not, wow. Alberta says, reserve the little left in the public purse. Corruption, no, yeah. We beg them. Ken Daslin to stop taking salaries while we wait for a new leader to come and take us out of these difficulties. Legend High Mangana here, even the military men that would take over will still be corrupt. Okay, he's basically talking about corruption. Felix Ohene, he should focus on retirement. Okay, Yawa Boaji, how to get Gobe on the pharmacy counter, very necessary. Wow. Charles Buntugu says, wow. Richard KB a year, Yentiobia, hashtag leadership, hashtag Tintin, Lord have mercy, hashtag responsibility. Fatal Abdul, they should not retire and leave office. Well, that is a huge name, and I doubt I can mention it, but I'll try. I don't want to disgrace myself, okay? So you say, even if I say it here, what impact will it make? We have elders who do not listen. They think they are entitled to the position they occupy. Who are we to tell them to do this and that? I am fed up, cry. Don't be. There is still hope for you and I. Saani SMS says, handing over speech. Jifa Mausi Ehiato broadcast. CB Bado. The man says for now he only the wait for the new leader cause he tire. Satinja Albert, nothing he can offer now. He should just stop talking or taking pay, sorry. Arizi, his handing over. It looks like a lot of people are waiting for the handing over note. Anati Alfred, nothing, because anything they focus on turns out to be a corrupt scandal. Dominic a handful, security and food security. Sadiq Abubakar, I think Dominic is a glutton just like I am, yes. So he's more focused and concerned when it comes to food security. Eben E. Ishan, nothing good coming from him. He should resign as soon as possible. Daniel Kwanchi says, focus on not being removed, cause it is only over for them. Okay. Nicholas bow out in peace. No clap, not to talk of standing ovation. Okay, not even a thank you from the MC. Wow. Albert Kofi Adams, they should focus on packing their things from Jubilee House, nothing else. Well, I can't read the letter part. Forgive me. Henry Gameli says the economy and roads to Yaga NDC Nadonli. The president says he's tired of the challenges of the nation. He has finished all his tactics and is waiting for a new NDC government to fix the problems. What we expect of government is to be disciplined and keep things until JM comes. JN Amankwa, the government has officially declared itself out from business and waiting for the next administration to take over. So joining me on the phone is Albert. Good morning, Albert.
Good morning.
Okay, what would you like to share with us?
Yeah, I want to talk about the committee probing the leaked paper about the IGP.
Sure.
Yeah, it appears that in this country, even the militaries are now looking for jobs from the militaries. Let me say so, because when COP elections appeared before the committee, it was established that he's a lawyer with good standing and also an experienced police officer. But this was a man looking for a job from Gubernabo who also appeared before the committee and indicated that he has never been to school. So my question is, given that he was given the nod to become the IGP, who would he have pledged his allegiance to? Was it that he would have pledged his allegiance to the one who helped him got the job or the people of Ghana?
All right,
Yeah.
Albert, I think that is a great question. Looking at people talking about politicizing the police administration because the person is one way or the other appointed by the ruling government. So thank you so much for your question. You can phone in 0302211691. Let me go back to the comments on social media. J Nana Amankwa, okay, I read that one. Sadat Larry Kokroko, they will hurt you until you accept that this is not a dating area, but it is actually a mining area. Paddy Ebenezer Bronze. Okay, so let's go back to the phone. Abdul, good morning. Thanks for joining me on the AM show.
Good morning to your listeners. The recent happenings in the world, especially in Africa, is beginning to be a lesson to every leader who wants to take the people, wants to take them for advantage. It is obvious that most of the coups that are being staged in Africa now are hugely supported by the citizens. That is tell us that everybody in this world, especially in Africa, is angry. And therefore our leaders must take cue of this and begin to take decisive decisions and take the people in account whenever they are taking the same decisions. If not, the temperature or the atmosphere is already charged. And if our leaders don't take that, don't want to eulogize, even the military, we cannot be sure of what they will do if they take up any country anywhere. But the leaders who have been trusted with our mandate must be very circumspect in their decision that they are taking. Thank you so much.
Joining me back to your social media comment. Sadat Larry Kokroko, I read yours. Paddy Ebenezer Bronze, focus to restore the worst economy ever. So, Baumia, what's he coming to do so special? More tax to recover the economy? I can't think far. Hey, politics is a dirty work. Wisdom Kwame Doche says, even if I say they can't do anything meaningful, they are clueless. So Thomas Yenimi exit from government. Buhigli Anas says Nanado should resign. Stephen Kwesi Amfo Yamwa says let money flow into the system. That is what he has to say. Okay, let's go back into the phone lines with Moses joining me. Good morning, Moses. Thank you for joining me.
Madam, how are you?
I am doing so great. Are you there, Moses?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay,
so,
listening.
The issues we are hearing is really troubling, my dear, as a young man. This is not only happening in at the top there. It's down to our level where young graduates are asked without anything. They are still asked to pay money to be able to be engaged. You see, this is how and that is how we will end. I believe we have to do something about our education system. We are only deceiving ourselves. We don't educate patriotic citizens. We don't actually mind whatever we can do to get today's bread. We don't think about tomorrow. So I think it is reason for all these revelations. If not, you cannot have a party chairman who sounds so confident, so bold, and even the leader who is supposed to be protecting our security, saying that it is known that the security system do not like our boss. This is serious. We need to relook at the way we educate ourselves. We need to relook at the way we do things in this world, where we eulogize ill-gotten wealth, and decide to, insult or describe people who are honest and just as lazy people. We need to move away from the issues of, cheap way of getting things, and we don't even ask people how they get their wealth. I think we need to sincerely sit back and look at those we elect or choose to be our leaders, and also those we recruit, whether they have passion and love, whether they are greedy or they are people who really want to serve. That is the way we can go. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you too for your time. I think that one was a necessary one, because it's about time we took probing people's source of wealth very, very serious. We would go back to the online stories or the comment, and we would read more. Focus on normalizing the economic crisis. That one, Augustine just brought his. We have a lot of messages. Adriana Bar, Boston News Files, to focus on agriculture. Okay, that's what he has to say. Then Phyllis too has another one down there. And Idrisu Abdul Momin says Nanadu should resign. Owusu George says Antoine Road. Yes, so bad. I spoke of it this morning on Bidrem. It was so bad. Antoine Road, it's so bad. So Yev Road, I think we should be remembered. Let's go back online and speak to, we have a caller online. Good morning. Thank you for joining us, Isa.
Yes, good morning. How's the morning, my sister?
Oh, we are managing. Yourself?
Fine. I want to be part of your program. I think as a country, I think we don't know where we are heading towards. The economy is so badly, and the coups around Africa is becoming too much. As I'll quote the former President Barack Obama, that as long as we condemn the coup, but we should remember by time limit, our leaders they want power drunk. I think this Gabon issue, we have been saying democracy. How can a particular family who rule 52 years in power, what is our leaders? They are sitting down quietly. They will not talk. But when there is chaos, they will come out and say something. That hypocrisy will kill our African leaders. So it's about time they should stop. I mean, it's pathetic. It's sad as a country. I think some of us are regretting as Africans because the way they are ruling us is very, very, very bad in Africa. So this is what we will be expecting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isa, for joining us live on the AM show this morning. You can call in 0302211691. We have few minutes to go back to your comments. Felix Everon says, return our monies and step down. Kwame Desmond, military. No. Idrisu Abdul Mumin, Nanadu should resign. Ransford Kuma, focus on unemployment. I agree. But this DJ Rokoji, step down. Ransford Ukran, this government has lost focus. Therefore, there is absolutely nothing to focus on. Mohammed Isa Abdullah, stop daylight robbery and corruption. Okay, that's what Mohammed Isa Abdul has to say. Amma, good morning. Amma,
Hello.
good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing so great. Thank you for joining me.
Okay, so I have two quick things to talk about.
Sure.
The first has to do with where politicians hold money in their rooms and under their beds and all that. Well, that is what has become the norm, especially with African politicians. Look at Gabon. When they went to search in the minister's home, they found a lot of money. So Ghana is an African country, so it is definitely not an exception. If we want to go into people's houses now, especially the ministers, we will find loads of monies under their beds. Look at Niger. I think one minister, there was a social media video going around. One minister was traveling with bags of monies and all that. So, well, this is what has become of them. And when there are coups, they want to make noise. Why are they not trying to correct what brings about the coups? Then the second issue has to do with the police meddling in politics. I'm surprised Ghanaians are surprised that our policemen do not engage in politics. NDC MPP, after every election, has accused, depending on where the battle falls on or who becomes the winner, the other person accuses the other of, the police of aiding the other party to win the elections. And so I don't see why people are surprised about the COP, the commissioner, coming to say that the IGP is meddling in politics. Well, it has been the norm. We know that even both parties have been talking about. So for two of them sitting there, the panelists, the investigative team, for them sitting there and are surprised. Yesterday, I was so surprised that they were surprised that the man is saying that he is even a politician. I'm surprised. Both of them have been accusing police of being meddling into politics. So why are they surprised? The man has come to speak the truth. And Ghanaians will become surprised. So Ghanaians are fond of being surprised about things that are normal, that we know are happening. When the thing comes out into the light, then we become surprised. We behave like ostriches. We are so surprised about things. I am not surprised. I'm not surprised about monies under people's beds, and I'm not surprised about this man saying that, well, the police have been meddling in politics.
Okay.
It is in Africa, and so we need to deal with it and stop being surprised about these things.
Thank you so much,
very
Ama,
much
for joining us. This is where we draw the curtain, yes. Thank you so much for calling in and your comments. Thank you so much for dropping them. I am Anochewaba Ajwasewa. Let's meet same time on Monday. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.